Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Creator Series. Welcome to our race here on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Twitter. We're live on all three. Hooray! It's wonderful, this world of technology, though if you are watching on Twitter, why those other two platforms exist. But there we go. We won't disparage too much on that one. That's my one. I'm going to do that and we'll walk on. We'll move on to the next thing. I am Daniel Gilligan. I will be one of your commentators and hosts for this evening, but I'm not doing it alone. Alongside me here in the comm box we have, of course, Jessica Ball. Jess, how the devil are you doing?
Hello Dan, really excited. Going to a track that F1 has not hosted a Grand Prix this year as well. Poor Ricard, its last Grand Prix was in 2022, but since it's on the game, the Creator Series get to do it, and I'm all ready to see what these drivers are getting up to.
Absolutely, yeah, it should be an interesting one. It should be good fun, hopefully. It's certainly a more fun track in the game than it has been in real life, I think it's fair to say, the French Grand Prix circuit, and one in which, of course, you know, Mr. Bernard Eccleston owns. So I wonder why that circuit may have gotten a deal to host some F1 races just as he was leaving his position at head of the sport. We wonder these things. Could it be F1 is corrupt? But there we go. So, when it comes to this evening then, it will not just be myself and Jess who will be guiding you through all of the action, but we have our third member of the team here in the comm box, and that is Harry. Harry, how are we doing, sir?
I'm amazing this afternoon. I'm very excited to see what the drivers can cook up this evening. Hopefully not too many optical illusions with the stripes on the circuit, so we can stay focused and see who takes victory today. I'm very excited.
Absolutely, yeah, should be very exciting indeed, of course. And in terms of any maybe initial thoughts headed into this one, guys, you know, we've got that tight championship battle going on. One of those protagonists is not going to be here today. Ben Daly, of course, not racing with us this weekend. He's clearly gone to start his new life away from content creation. He's going to now be looking after seals in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I'm being told in my ear what the actual reason is, but I prefer mine. So, in terms of that then, Jess, Harry, what are we thinking going forwards then for this evening? Jake, of course, is going to be chasing on after that potential championship lead. Are they going to have the chops to get it done?
Well, I'm almost certain that Maraki's going to have a tough thing on his shoulders to try and make sure he gets the championship lead, but it is not impossible for him, really. He's got a really big opportunity. He has been practicing a lot, as I've seen in the Discord chat, so no excuses for him really as well. But the other championship protagonists as well, the likes of Skyzy, maybe Raz, and they could have an opportunity to even close up as well if they're not too careful, but they won't be able to take the championship lead. Only Jake will be able to, but anything could happen in Formula 1, and it usually does.
Certainly does. The late, great Murray Walker, of course, saying that particular line. Harry, any sort of thoughts from you headed into this one?
I think it's going to be an interesting one because the last sort of couple of rounds, we've actually seen reserve drivers win. I mean, in Abu Dhabi, we saw Alex Gillen, and then the 2 rounds before that, we saw Tom 97. If those reserves continue to win, it could really impact that championship fight as it limits the amount of points Meraki and Skyzy can gain on Tiamat Marduk, and well, it's going to certainly drag out that fight for much longer and make it very interesting for us to see, you know, who's going to be taking those victories and who's going to be the overall champion when it comes to a few rounds' time.
Absolutely. Not many to go, of course. Over in the chat, we've got some people saying hello. Nice to see you. Logan Reed, in particular, saying hello. Hello, Logan. And then we've also got some suggestions that Jess needs to be turned up a little bit more. Microphone-wise, not in terms of anything else, I'm sure. I'm sure you're perfectly excited for this evening, Jess. But that has already been done, apparently, according to the voice in my ear. So we are all ready. We can do a test, though. Jess, say some insightful, interesting things.
Hopefully this mic is a lot clearer for you all in the chat. If not, speak now.
That's very insightful there, indeed. Yes, very good indeed. So, in terms of this, then, we are just waiting for everybody to get the lobby booted up, for everything to get, you know, working on. We're going to be getting ourselves into there, getting that qualifying session started. Of course, reminder that for this season, we have introduced a brand new little formalised bit of competition. It was something we did informally before, and that is the Intermediates Championship. So that is then those drivers who are going to be You know, going out there on the first run in qualifying, probably on a set of intermediate tyres, and the fastest time on the intermediates gets 1 additional point. That is regardless where you finish in qualifying or the race, so it could be anybody's game. If you wanted to, you could go for a setup that's designed to work best with the intermediate tyre on a dry track. But that is, of course, if it is dry. We don't know just yet whether it will be or not. We will have to wait and see. But what we are seeing now is ourselves heading down to the pit lane. So we've got most of our field is full-time drivers this evening, but we do have some reserves. Jess, what can you tell us about these reserves?
I need to actually get it up on my screen first up. So we got 5 reserves this evening. We got B-Roy in the... Well, no, we've got Yours Sincerely in the Alpha Tower. We've got B-Roy in the Williams. We got Jorik van Geffen. He's here tonight replacing Taka. Unfortunately, Taka is unwell. So, Taka, if you're watching, get better soon. We got Matty D in the Aston Martin. And we got a new Time for content creator who's replacing Benjamin Daly this evening. Huge pressure. I can't even pronounce his name, so no Guerra. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Surely some people from his chat could tell me if I said it wrong. Otherwise, they could tell me the correct pronunciation. But welcome to the Creator Series, and I can't wait to see how he does in the Ferrari tonight, replacing Ben.
Absolutely, there we go. So, for a number of those names, they are people that we have seen before. Certainly Yours Sincerely, Matty D, B. Roy, and Jorrit Jan van Heffen. They have all been here in the Creator Series before. Jorrit used to be a full-time driver, of course, a couple of seasons ago. And, of course, is all part of Sim Racing Centre as well. So if you want to check those guys out, then just tell them that we sent you. But in terms of all of that, then, we've got a car on outlap at the moment. This is Danes 77 in the Aston Martin. And so they then are headed around at this point in time then. Are they one of our reserves this evening? I don't recognise a Danes 77. They must be replacing GB68. So there we go. Oh, that is Matty D. Of course it is. Sorry, that's my brain fart happening there. There we go. I've had my first Crofty moment of the day, everybody. So it's Matty D then in the Aston Martin on our screens at the moment. They'll be the first driver to cross the line to get started on a hot lap. And as they do so, of course, down at the end of the pit lane, you can see there are a couple of cars leaving at the moment, but no major dramas. They're already out and clear by the time he gets around that final turn. A little bit of a slide, though, as he came onto the start-finish straight. So DRS open now, then, and let's see what Matty is able to do as our first intermediate time of the day. So through the first couple of corners he goes then. The car is looking a little bit leery on the exit of turn number 2 there. Not necessarily the sort of driving which is going to keep your trousers the same colour they were, unless they were already brown, of course. Through the rest of the first sector we go then, and it's all keeping tight, all under control at this stage for the tyres that they're on, and unsurprisingly, being the first car through there, it is a purple first sector. Now on to the second sector, of course. It's essentially just this back straight here. Although we say it's straight, there is a chicane in the middle of it, so this is going to provide some areas of entertainment, we're sure, in the race. Drivers attempting moves, and whether they're successful or not, we will wait and see. But as they come into here then, they're hitting their marks nicely, and just getting about as close to the white line as you can be without going over it. And just up ahead of them, they've now got a couple of cars just pulling over to one side, allowing the car on a time lap to pass. But it's not just them, of course. Their teammate Safso is just a couple of cars behind on track. Nogueira has left the session. So we'll have to wait and see if they're able to get themselves through, and ACAT's F1 says, "It's Le Baguette Day." Oui, it is, monsieur or madame, whatever you happen to be. This is going to be a recurring thing today. It's going to be a French accent, and everyone's going to love it by the end, mostly through Stockholm Syndrome, but there we go. Around the final couple of corners we come then with Matty D to complete out that first lap, and as he does so, out the final turn, does he boot the throttle like he did at the start lap? No, not this time. A rear end all under control. DRS opens up, and down towards the start-finish line we go, and it's a 1:35.1 as our first intermediate time of the day. But it's quickly then surpassed with a 1:35.0 from Safso. So then, as we wait and see here what ends up happening next then, so we've got Dirt Chocolate just finishing their lap, 1:36.5, so he's quite a little bit off of that pace there that was initially set by Safso, and it's now even further away from the pace because that has now been set by Jorrit Jan van Heffen. Very, very good start for them in this return to form here in the Creator Series, in the Haas taking over, as we say, for El Taco Man. Jess, in terms of what we've been seeing from Jorrit practicing and so on, we're thinking he's probably going to be one of those big threats later on. Is that right?
Well, to be honest, not many people have done in any league races around here as well. And of course, Europe, being one of the masterminds of Sim Racing Centre, has got some nice setups as well, which you can get from their website as well, from a really good bundle actually. So if you are interested, make sure you check that out. But yeah, I think him and his team have got huge experience deciding what is best for this track, and has probably tested hours and hours on this game around this track at all. So yeah, I could agree with you that he could be one of the threats as well. Some people say maybe even Dirt Chocolate could be a threat as well. Jake, like we were saying earlier, our championship protagonist who's chasing down Ben Day in the championship, he's currently topping the timing sheet at the moment in P1. I could say I think definitely Jake and you aren't going to be the huge threats today, but you never know, we could see people lower down that could be huge threats too for the entire championship, because it's been a really close season so far, with the likes of Razin as well being up there, Skyzy as well. Skyzy has been hugely unlucky this season. Maybe this race could be the race where he gets to shine and maybe win it. His home Grand Prix, believe it or not, Dan.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a season of highs and lows, I think, for Skyzy, as they've been trying their absolute level best to get the best results they can. But, you know, we think all the way back to that first race, strategy ended up undoing all of their hard work and their undeniable pace in that first race. And as it is then, DRS opens up now on that Mercedes car. Will it be top of the Intermediate Championship? No, it will not be. It is just about a tenth away from what Meraki has managed so far, so a little bit too short for them on this occasion. Hayden Gullis will be the next driver that we see cross the line here, and as they come up to that line on those green-walled intermediate tyres, it is P6 for them with a 34.8, so definitely up there with some good pace. It's good to see from Hayden after they were a little bit self-critical at times, just prior to them sort of coming back after a couple of races away, a number of races ago now, but it's good to see them sort of back on the pace really, and in the top end of the field at this point in time. At least we do have some drivers still yet to complete a lap, and we'll have to wait and see how everybody else fares out there. But as it is right now, we've got B-Roy on our screens. B-Roy, of course, has jumped in a number of times over the course of this season for Curbs. And so it's one of these things where we will get ourselves the Curbs back at some stage, I'm sure. But B-Roy then, the man who affectionately refers to me as an old person, and I will always respond in kind that they are the youth, which of course I would imagine an awful lot of you watching are, but you know, I mean it to him in a bad way and you guys in a good way, obviously, definitely, I'm not lying. But when it comes to that then, B-Roy comes across the line. It's P9 for them, just a couple of places ahead of Adam Sanderson, who I've made a special little agreement with if they get into Q3. That will be revealed only if they get into Q3. But there we are. There's nothing sinister, by the way. I know that my accent might make you think that, but it's one of these things. So, as we go down the back straight then, we have got Rasin Chai on our screens at the moment. Purple in the second sector, though. That could just be a slight visual bug there. It has been known to happen where drivers will go through the second sector on a qualifying lap. It will show as purple, but they're not actually purple there. So we'll have to wait until the end of the lap, but we can see on some data that we've got here that it is in fact purple. So it's a good second sector there for them. Hopefully they can now convert that into a great time towards the top of the timesheets here on this intermediate tyre before we get onto the slicks and everything else. Of course, some drivers are deliberately going later on the intermediate tyre in order to try and get as much rubbered in track conditions as they can to get a better time. And across the line will come Rasin Chai. And it is fastest! Look at that! A good half a tenth or so ahead of Meraki at that point in time. So that is a great little lap from Rasin Chai. That is them getting another point on the board, unless, of course, someone else can beat them.
Yes, a point for the fastest intermediate tyre lap in a Q1. It's definitely, I think, going to be sought after. Tom, I believe, is still on a lap on the intermediate tyres. No one else, I don't think, but you never know. We could see people going on the intermediate lap last minute if we see someone who maybe go on the soft run and thinks, right, I'm going to be safe. But we've seen it before where people have counted their lucky stars, but unfortunately it may have not been the best lucky stars and they may have got eliminated in Q1. So it's hard to tell yet on who we think could get eliminated. It's because everyone has set lap times on the intermediate tyres. But yeah, French Grand Prix, 16 circuits over the years, of course. It was, I think, Le Mans was one of them, 1921 before, obviously, the Formula One World Championship took place as well. And we're watching right now an emphatic as he's purple in sector 1, and he's one of the first drivers, Dan, to go on the soft tyres.
Certainly is. Yep, absolutely. We're seeing him absolutely tearing that Ferrari down the back straight at the moment. Good bit of speed underneath them there. Just directing attention towards chat for a brief moment. So we've got Tawonga Matika saying you're welcome for the 2-month sub. I'm sure that whoever the money goes to is very welcome, but I see none of it. So for you, sir, I say thank you for spending money with somebody else. And then Dan's French accent is him pretending to be Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. I don't know what you could possibly be saying, sir. I don't know at all. And then, of course, a few regular drivers missing today, says Wilco. Yes, absolutely, there are. And hopefully the reserves can give us an interesting bit of battle here. So, round the final corner comes Emphatic, up towards the line, then in the Ferrari, not having set a time on the intermediate tyres. They've gone just for that time on the softs, first of all. And they come across the line, unsurprisingly, fastest of the field so far, a 1:30.4. Now, of course, we've got Emphatic here. Oh, and that's a creative interpretation of track limits to get back to the pits as quickly as possible there. He's certainly not going to be able to use those tyres again if he's gone over those very abrasive areas of the track there. But from one Ferrari to another, and this one not being driven by Benjamin Daly, and it's instead being driven by Nogueira or Nogueira, or however we're pronouncing it. I don't know. I'm going to go with Nogueira because it looks Portuguese to me, but I probably have upset a bunch of Spanish people saying that, so there we go. Safso takes top of the timing sheets with 1:29.8. What is the other Ferrari driver able to do? Round the final turn they go, up towards the line, and will the Scuderia have two cars in a good spot fighting for good points here today? Well, so far it's certainly looking quite promising. It is first for Nogueira, and you can see then they've even got it in their name, first. So there we are then. That's not a bad thing to be looking at there. It would be awfully embarrassing if they finish the session not in first with first in their name. But there we go. And apparently, according to Flange Muffler, which is just one of the most fantastic names on Twitch, let's be honest, Dirk and Skyzy have had an incident. So I'm sure that we will be reviewing that in the break between Q1 and Q2. But honestly, there are so many yellow flags right now, I don't know how much longer we've got in Q1. Jess, what do you know, if anything, about that incident between Dirk and Skyzy, or will we just save that until later?
Well, I don't know anything much going on, because I was concentrating on the Ferrari drivers. So I'm sure if someone has sent a clip in on Discord, in a Discord channel, I'm sure how we'll be able to look at that. We'll be able to play it live on air between Q1 and Q2. So if you in the chat knew what was going on, maybe you can clip it from one of the drivers' streams, and we can find out what's going on there. So get your clipping magic in, guys, because Harry's going to need it in between Q1 and Q2.
Certainly is, absolutely. And of course, the more clips that we submit, then the more time that we can end up filling later on, with the drivers inevitably cause several safety cars. So that's going to be of great benefit to us as well. There's an interesting couple of different lines that we're seeing from drivers around this circuit, particularly around that penultimate corner. And look at these then. Last 5 races, it's been podiums in all but one for Meraki. Will they be able to do it again here today? Well, certainly they've put themselves in the best spot to do so far. But again, this is just Q1. It's all about getting inside that top 15 to make it through into the next part of qualifying at this stage. This will not set the grid unless you're in those bottom 5 positions. So yeah, a first, a second, a third, and a fourth for Meraki in the last 5 races. But not in that order, necessarily. And then, well, we say that with Meraki setting the pace. Your Jan van Heffen has now set the new pace at the top of the timesheets. We've got 4.5 minutes to go, thereabouts, until the end of this Q1 session. So, at this point then, drivers are making their way through, and M SkyZ is making their way through the traffic, certainly. They're taking the old school line there of just completely straight lining the chicane. Trying to get themselves back in as soon as they can, of course. You can see here that we've got Matty D on your screen at the moment, taking that Aston Martin through that third and final sector, the slowest corners on this circuit. Lots of very long apex corners as well, things like this one here. Don't want to touch that curve on the inside, of course, and that then can lead to a spin. And then as you unsettle the car through there, you then come through this section here. This is then where we see the different lines happening sometimes. You see those going for a later apex, those who just stick to the inside that entire time on the left-hander, and then some who go out wide and then cut back in as well. Round the final turn then, Matty D comes up towards the line. P16 right now. What will it be after? It is P4 for the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, not too bad, but it's been quite close for these top 7 at the moment, and with ones in the cut-off line at the moment, the ones who've just done on soft tyres, they may be a little bit worried currently, because I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers that have yet to set representative lap times, so they could knock each other off their perch if they're not too careful. One of the drivers who's out on circuit now is P15 and Razin Chai as he heads towards turn 11 and 12 as well. And he's purple sector 1 and 2, so looking like he can knock you off his perch quite now as he is passing towards turn 12. I think it was turn 10 and 11 that I went past a couple of moments ago, so I do apologise about that. Past the pit lane as well, the drivers will be keeping an eye on that throughout the race, I'm almost certain, because it is very different compared to obviously the endurance lap where it's going to a completely different place. But Razin Chai up to line is going to be fastest at the moment. Yes, it is 149.127, and he's about 3 takes off. You'll have a time on the session. He feels pretty confident that his lap time is going to be enough to secure his spot in Q2. And I personally think it is, but I wonder if you guys think it is. We'll see in just under 2 minutes time.
Absolutely, shall wait and see. And an abandoned lap then that guy Vince. Interesting, Vince has been overlapped very good times over this season. So clearly they must have made a big business somewhere where they had an abandoned lap there. There's some bit of herald jeopardy here, but of course we're creating interpretation of track tracks as we see people going 14 there. And then you can end up seeing there's audio issue for both of us. This has a total glitching, guys. Every mic is glitching. Nobody likes hearing me speak because I'm going to keep on speaking. But I'll tell you what, then we'll leave you for a one lap at the end of qualifying here whilst we try and sort this out. So then, everybody, we're hoping that this is just a brief Discord issue and that everything is fine now. Please let us know in the chat if the same problem exists or whether or not it has just resolved itself. Certainly, from our producer side of things, nothing is being lost in terms of any data or packet losses or anything like that in terms of getting the stream out to those of you at home. So, yep, good now. That's better. Excellent. That's what we like to see. Very, very good. So, there we are then. We've got the last few times to see us over the line in this last few seconds of qualifying, and 10 seconds till we see the checkered flag. Of course, there'll be some drivers like Chesnoy Gaming here who may well end up be setting a lap and will not then end up setting another here, even though they are technically across the line. So there we go then, P11 for them, 130.4, but you can see on their dashboard there, next to no hybrid system remaining in that battery. So they're not going to be able to go for a second push lap straight away. And so as it is now then, we've got yours sincerely in the other Alpha Tauri coming through the last few corners then. Are they going to be able to improve and get themselves up into the top 15, or higher up in the top 15 at the very least? Well, let's wait and see then. As they come across the line, they're going to need to get relatively high up, in fact, because you can see there are some drivers at the back there who have not set a competitive time on dry tyres just yet. So across the line comes yours sincerely. It's only P13 for now. Michi Hoyer then is the next car who will come across the line. They've not invalidated the lap. They've not invalidated out the final corner. So up to the line they come then, having previously only set a time on that intermediate tyre. Across the line they come, and it's 13th place. So they do push yours sincerely down. Another lap time comes in then from a car behind that pushes everybody down that further place. And then it happens again. Michi Hoyer now is on the bubble of being eliminated in qualifying here. Adam Sanderson is also on the bubble. The driver who wants to get himself into Q3 in this particular race. Well, let's wait and see if he's able to drag himself back out here, very wide of the apex in the left-hander in the third sector here then. And as he comes down now then, let's see if he's going to be able to stick nice and close to the inside here, or whether no, he goes for that longer, wider line to then cut back in at the end for that late apex. And then as he goes up towards the line then, is this going to be enough for Devon Butler himself? Up towards the line then, Adam Sanderson crosses it now, and it's no improvement. He is slower by nearly half a second. So he is out in Q1. The only other driver who could end up doing something is the one on your screen right now, who is both going very slowly indeed and has also invalidated the lap. That is B-Roy, so that is your Q1 order sorted out. Yours sincerely, Adam Sanderson, B-Roy, Punju, and that guy Vince, all out in this first part of qualifying. I think big shocker when it comes to all of that then is that guy Vince. Vince, of course, has been so quick over one lap at a lot of the circuits we've been to this season, and he's qualifying at the back with no valid time on dry tyres. That is a massive shocker, isn't it, Jess?
Yeah, I think huge shot out of everybody. I wasn't expecting Vince to be up there, and seeing his lap time currently on screen strongly suggests that he was trying to do a soft run, but he invalidated, I think, one or two of them. So huge shame for Vince there, and he's got a lot of work to do to go from last to wherever he wants to go in this field. But you never know, there could be carnage in the front, and he can possibly try and get maybe another podium potentially, but you never know what could happen.
You never know indeed. Drivers who will be very happy that the session ended when it did and how it did are, of course, those towards the bottom end of that top 15. Mitchy Hoyer, Mr. Dale, Chesnoid Gaming, they all relatively close to the drop zone there. And there on the screen then, as a reminder, that guy Vince down in P20. That is a shocking result. Something that I'm sure they wouldn't have expected come the end of this one. But to give you the full rundown then of the order, we will go through this now then. And he's just posted in our Discord, last to first challenge. So it is Rasen Chai at the top of the timing sheets in Q1, with then Jorrit Jan van Heffen in the Haas, with then Meraki rounding out the Q1 podium, if you will. Then we have M Sky Z, Nogueira, Matty D, then Peja, Safso, Hayden Gullis, Tom, Infratic, Dirk Chocolate, Chesnoid Gaming, Mitchy Hoyer, and Mr. Dale all make it through in that top 15. In the drop zone is yours sincerely, Adam Sanderson, B-Roy, Punju, and that guy Vince. So that is that. That is all she wrote for Q1. And so what we will do now then, of course, let's have a look over to Harry and to the clipbook. Harry, over to you.
Yes, so in that qualifying session, unfortunately, I missed that incident between Dirk and Skyzy. I think I did hear a bit of Dirk's audio from when he was close to finishing that lap, and he was saying that Skyzy blocked him, but unfortunately, we didn't get that. But what we did get is that guy Vince and why he didn't quite set a lap. So here's the first time that he invalidated. Obviously, he's improving massively. You can just see he just goes over the apex ever so slightly on the first chicane. He just turned in a bit too early there, and that caused the invalidation. And then the reason why he actually didn't get another lap in was he just carried a... Oh, sorry. I just have to quickly share this tab instead. And then what we're going to see is, obviously, he invalidates here, and then he's cutting across the track to try and get the lap in time. And then he just cooks the tyres, and round he goes. And then, of course, with 4 seconds to go, he was never going to make the line, which is why Vince was unfortunately eliminated in that Q1 session. But another interesting clip that I saw was Punju's invalidation for the first time. It was a rather interesting one. I think you'll agree with me. It's slightly lazy. He just into the high-speed right-hander. He just kind of drifts, and I think he just kind of gives up on. And that's why he invalidated that first lap, and a possible reason why he was unfortunately eliminated in Q1. But yeah, if a little bit later on I do pick up on that incident between Dirk and Skyzy, I will of course mention it and see if I can deliver that to you guys. But yeah, that's all I got in Q1. An interesting session with a couple of surprise eliminations there.
Absolutely. So there we go then. Big shocker for that guy Vince in that session, if you will. No, okay. So, in terms of what we're going to do next then, it's of course going to be Q2. Now, this time, it's unlikely we're going to see drivers on the intermediate tyre. That being said, looking over to our timing tower data here, it does look as though some drivers are electing to go out on intermediate, or even one driver on full wet tyres, actually. Unless my eyes are deceiving me. Yeah, they might be deceiving me, who knows. Yeah, then, it's one of these things where, you know, it's a good way of getting a sighter lap in and things like that. Vince now in the chat saying no comment. Well, you know, it could be worse, it could be raining. There we go then. So, Let's just wait and see then how everybody is able to get on in this first session after the break. So first to go hot then on a lap will be this man on your screen right now, Dirk Chocolate. And so let's wait and see then what the Red Bull can do. Now he is inadvertently giving a slight toe to the Aston behind, but of course if he ends up going a bit slower than what the Aston driver is capable of, then actually the driver will just be getting dirty air. Now it's not of course going to be any sort of impeding or anything like that because they're both on hot laps, so it's not going to result in any penalties for Dirk in any way, shape or form. But as it is, then he comes through the first sector. The car is looking relatively balanced underneath. I say all that. Oh dear, that then was a Code Brown moment, I think. But that then was a moment where the back end of the car just decided, no, I want to go over there instead. And that's then that's a bit of a shocker. But, you know, hopefully other people will make similar mistakes, pushing the car to the limits. And then he will be, when he's pushed it too much to the limit. Because right there, as we took his camera away, we missed out on potentially seeing his reaction there. But he's then ended up then invalidating that. And he's also got then this car, of course, Safso, as we were saying before, right tucked in behind him. Safso, you'd have to think then has really kind of suffered over the course of this lap, really, now that there's been a driver right in front of them the whole time, because particularly through the corners, that's then where you're going to be losing all the time as a result of the dirty air. So let's wait and see then what Safso is able to post as a good time here at the end of this first run. Safso's had some good qualifying sessions over the course of this season. He's been in the Q3 session more often than not, I think it's fair to say. And so as we come around the final turn, then Dirk here going for another lap, seemingly. That or it's his teammate, which it's in fact not, because his teammate's not in this session. But Safso then does a 1:29.9, so that's a very quick, very competitive time to get on the board, first of all. Yorick goes 1:29.9 as well, but just a few hundredths of a second away. Chesnoid has come across the line and done a 1:30.8, and now Nogueira goes to the top and is a good 3/10 quicker than Safso, 1:29.655. So that's a good one there. But now Michi Hoyer then in the McLaren is coming down the back straight. So they've got that DRS open, that rear wing opening up like a letterbox, and you wouldn't want to put your hand into there at 100 and something miles an hour. That would not be a particularly pleasant experience. But as he goes through the chicane then, no major mess ups there from then, anything like that. And as they head down the rest of that back straight after the chicane, it's then going to be into the high speed right-hander here, before we then get flying around and into the braking zone. So just around that 50-meter board, that's then when they're going to be braking and chucking the car in. And then as it comes around here, it's then all about maintaining that minimum speed. Even if you've got to take a slightly longer line, sometimes that can actually give you a benefit. Things like right here, if you go, whoa, and there's a little bit of an oversteering moment on the exit there. I was about to say it could be a lot worse. If you get tighter to that apex and you touch the curb, then as we mentioned briefly in Q1, it can then unsettle the car, cause you to have a spin. So through the final turn comes Michi Hoyer then. How has this lap shaped out versus what they were able to manage previously, and where in the pecking order will they sit at this stage? As it is then, it's middle of the pack, P7 for Michi Hoyer at this stage, and Dirk has abandoned that second push lap, has gone into the pit straight away. You can see there that red mini map, so they have invalidated at some point around the circuit. So no time for them just yet. Matty D is going to come through the end of the first sector. They're purple in the first sector as well. In fact, so very, very good time from them so far. We'll have to wait and see then whether or not this car is going to do well in the second sector too. Of course, you've got a car that's able to get you into all three of these sectors in good quick time, then you're going to get a great lap time out of it. But what can sometimes happen, of course, is you can set a car up that is far more biased towards one type of sector versus another. It must be said that sectors 1 and 3 tend to have a bit more in common with one another than sector 2 and either of those sectors, because of course sector 2 is broadly speaking just a big long straight. But when it comes to this then, if you are running too much wing to try and get that extra cornering speed, then you'll see that sector 2 time being that bit slower. As it is then, we come through the third sector now with Matty D, and they come into this great big long left-hander. They're getting nice and close, but not too close to that curb on the inside at the apex. And now then they run all the way down towards the penultimate corner here. That's where pin entry is as well. So don't be surprised to see drivers suddenly careening off of the road in the middle of the race. They won't be crashing, hopefully. It'll be them going into the pits instead. So DRS open on the back of the Aston Martin. The green car heads down the straight and across the line. It's P6 for Matty D. Not a bad lap at all. Jess, what have you been thinking so far during this qualifying session?
I think most people, they're on used set of those soft tyres, so we were expecting a few people to go even quicker. They want to save a set of softs for Q3 and maybe even the race as well, because like you were saying earlier, Dan, there could be some safety cars in our midst. So it's not really that surprising in the creator series. So I'm surprised to see a few people invalidating their laps. I'm very happy to see one of our newbies on the block, No Guerra, who is on top right now. It's great to see him making his mark in the crate series right off the bat, in the top spot as well, which strongly suggests that he could be another threat as well. But a shot for me at the moment is Hayden Gullis. He hasn't set a lap yet, but I know he can go quick as he usually does, as he's purple set to 1 in the game. Hopefully that might mean that he's purple set to 1 overall, but it might just be against the ones surrounding. Tom hasn't set a competitive lap time. He's 7/10 off the fastest time, so that will be roughly in the 1:30.5, so roughly about Matty D territory. So I think he'll be happy with a P6 right now as he heads past Missile Straight and heading towards turn 10.
There we go then. And 1.1 time, 1.1 seconds away at the moment is Hayden Gullis versus Nogueira at the front of the field. So this is not looking to be the lap for Hayden Gullis, but there's still plenty of time for them to finish this one out, get round back into the pits, back round again, and set another lap time, or they could potentially just abandon this lap altogether and go into the pits. They've not done that though. They've decided to keep with it. They've gone really over the curbs on the inside there of the penultimate corner, through the final turn and up towards the line then. Where is this going to place Hayden? And is he going to be happy with it? I suspect the answer to that second question is no. But across the line he comes. It's only P10. That is only just good enough to get through into the next part of qualifying if they stay there. And then, of course, we have the cross-country driving that goes on in an effort to try and get back to the pits as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think one thing that the drivers are more aware about this circuit more than anything is it can be taken fully flat out if you do no rules. I think more people are kind of used to the no rules interpretation than the actual track layout itself, which is why some people may have got a bit confused to start with when they know they couldn't go into turn 1 and 2 the normal way, like in no rules. But interesting interpretation, not gonna lie, on getting into the pits. To be honest, that's what I would do if I was allowed to do it, of course. But Dirk, I believe, is hopefully going to be on another lap soon. I don't see him on outlap anymore, so I assume Dirk Trottler in P14 is currently on a lap. Yes, he is, as he heads towards the final few corners. Currently in the drop zone, looking to not be in the drop zone currently, as he's going to be full power on the floor on the start finish straight. Is it going to be a time that will put him in the top 6? Yes, it is. And Johan van Geffen, P1 at the moment, 129.259, and he's currently hitting 4/10 quicker than the Ferrari driver in P2. Not too shabby for the driver that we think is going to be under threat, but no Guerra at the moment in P2 is exiting the final few corners. We'll see if he can do any better. He's purple in set to 1 currently, but can he be purple in the final sector? He goes full guns to the blazing. Is it going to be enough to get into the 1:28 then? The answer that is no, not quite, but it is fast. It's 1:29.192. Very, very impressive. And Pei, I believe, just came across the line in 3rd position. So well done to him.
Absolutely. Big well done to Peja. The 2 Mercedes drivers, both at their home race this weekend, as Meraki now steals that 3rd place line for them with a 1:20 to end up having themselves a nice comfy race, or whether it's going to be constant battling and passing and other bits and pieces. We will wait and see. So as it is right now then, we are waiting for these drivers to just get themselves down into the rest of the, well, into the last part of the session really. We've got ourselves another 4 minutes, or just shy of 4 minutes to go until we are ready to close out this Q2 session. And so we will hopefully get ourselves into... Oh, and interesting here, Jess. You're is retired from the session already.
Well, I'll have to say a 1:29.2 for Yora. I think that should see him safely through, but you never know with how close his grid is. Separated by 9/10 of a second, and there's a few people that will on new sets for their first half of qualifying, and they can find even more ground to get themselves into the top half of the field, and that can possibly knock some of the guys out. But I think for the likes of Nogueira and Yora, I think that they should be see safely through, and I think Meraki will probably retire the car as well. Everybody else, I would say, they're going to find, I think, even more time to make themselves through. I think from Tom downwards, I would say, Dan, I think they will need to go again.
You think so? Okay, interesting. That certainly bodes not so well for those who are currently all sat in the pits. But we do see MSkyZ on that outlap right now. We see Chesnoid, we see Mitchie all on outlaps as well. Of course, we've seen some pretty substantial track evolution over the course of this session. The times that we started out with on the first runs in Q1, of course, they were all done on the intermediate tyre, so they were then, of course, not something that we need to be too concerned about with regards to them being off the pace. But then since then, we start to see times first being set in sort of the, mid 130s, something like that, and then we've gotten down now into the 29s, and now even down to just tickling the edge of the 28s, which of course is something that we all love to do, especially on a Friday night. I don't know, but there we go. Skyzy then is the driver we're on board with at the moment. You can see here, right on your screen, both their car and their face are on screen at the moment. Then the Frenchman goes down the back straight as one of the best examples of a Frenchman as well, I think, is Skyzy. Very lovely man. We've interviewed him many times because he's very quick and he tends to win an awful lot of races. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to do it again this weekend at the home race. But we'll wait and see then. They've taken this car through then, purple in the middle sector so far, so this is looking a good lap, and maybe a car that is hooked up more in a setup designed for overtaking and defence down that big long straight, so we'll wait and see whether that proves true in the race itself or not. Into the long left-hander here then, very, very wide of that apex. They've kept up a decent minimum speed throughout there, but it is a much longer line they've taken. All those corners off camber, it's not very good for racing, really. It just means that drivers end up losing the control of the car, but in a way that everybody does, especially if you've got dirty air over your wings, which, of course, Skyzy doesn't on this occasion. And as he comes up to the line then, he has the pace underneath him, and what a pace as well, a 1:28.8, our first time in the 28s, and that is a stellar performance from Skyzy. And of course, we've got a lot of drivers who've retired from the session at this point. If the track evolution is so significant that we've got someone going to the top in the 28s for the first time, then it might be that those drivers who've retired, Safso and Tom in particular, towards the bottom end of that group that are, of retirees, they might be in a bit of a hot spot here now, Jess.
Yeah, they could, and I did say it could be track evolution time worry for these drivers, and I think there's going to be plenty of other drivers that may provide some upsets. So Tom was one of those first drivers that retired early. I think he's probably going to regret that now, because he's currently sitting in P5 in the standings currently, and could be in danger of being knocked out of the standings by this one, maybe by this man, Chesnoid Gaming, running on board now in P11 as he exits in towards turn number 12 as well. And he's doing quite decently in sector 2. He's green everywhere, so he's improving left, right and centre. He has a 22.2 in the first sector, 27.6 in the middle. Is he going to find a time to knock himself into Q3? The answer to that will be... Oh, he's right on the bubble. P8 for the AlphaTauri driver. So I think a lot of work needs to be done for him. Oh, and Dale has damaged his front wing. So the answer to him getting put into Q3 is none and void. And he's retired the car, which is unfortunate. Mitchie Hoyer is right on the bubble. He's just got himself in at 2P10. Let's see who else is on a lap. Dirt Chocolate. He is in 12th position at the moment. Is he personal best in all two sets so far? Yes, he is. A bit of a squirm in towards the final corner, so that may not help him. But is it going to be enough to secure him a Q3 spot? Of course it is. P5 for the Red Bull Esports, Red Bull Sim Racing content creator. I believe it was Matty D who just came across the line in 5th. So it's just Hayden Gullis that can improve. Safso, Emphatic and Mitchie Hoyer are not out, same with Dale. But it's up to Hayden and Chesnoid that could do any better. Razin could look like he could get pole position very soon, but can Hayden be knocked out of Q2? Unfortunately, he is knocked out of Q2 in P11, and we didn't see what Razin could do because our screens got knocked out. But I think he came across the line in P9, if I'm not too mistaken. So yeah, unfortunately, our 5 drivers were going to be missing out in Q3. It's Hayden Gullis, Safso, Emphatic, Mitchie Hoyer, and Mr. Dale. But it was Razin Chai, actually, who got top. So he was at 9th in the end. He got fastest by about half a tenth.
Yeah, half a tenth, exactly, in fact. So yeah, very, very good time there from Rasin. And certainly when we take a look at the rest there, well, yeah, a full run through then. Rasin Chai, M Sky Z, Noguera, then Jorrit Jan van Heffen, Meraki, Danes or Matty D, Dirk Chocolate, Tom, Peya, and Chesnoid will go through with us into Q3. And then it is Hayden Gullis, Safso, Infratic, Michi Hoyer, and one other driver at the bottom of the pile there. So that's then an interesting Q3 that we have coming up here then. And so, well, could it be that we've got some interesting things to look forward to in this race? I think we do. But I tell you what we'll do is we will throw over to Harry and to the clip book. Harry, over to you, sir.
Yes, well, honestly, I actually really enjoyed that Q2. It was nice to see Dirk through into that final part of qualifying after he's had a couple of unfortunate and less than ideal races, but it's brilliant to see him up there. And well, let's go through. Unfortunately, the first two clips are of Dirk's early invalidations and such. So here we got the first one. You can see he just gets very shaky. That was a massive slide. Did a really good job to catch that one, to be honest. And that would have cost him time on his early lap, but he definitely made that up towards the end on that final run that he did. Then this was the invalidation that he had. Let's go into full screen. And well, you can just see he goes a little bit, again, a bit sort of similar to what we saw with that guy Vince, just a little bit too early on the turn in and all four wheels over the white line. And that means that is an unfortunate invalid lap for him. And then this was Dale's incident. I think it was actually on the stream, but his perspective of it, he just sort of, you can see he's invalidated his lap. Nothing to lose, and just barrels straight into the wall. And well, that was what happened in Q2, all of the incidents, and well, an exciting session, and I think Q3 is going to be an excellent place to see who's going to take pole. I'm very excited.
Very good. I think we all are pretty excited. It could be a number of different drivers. So thank you for that then, Harry. I'm sure we'll come back to you at various points over the course of this evening. So then, Dirk Chocolate out on the outlap will be the first driver, barring any unforeseen incidents, to set a lap time here today in Q3. And we've got just 10 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this session. So not long at all before we get cracking here. So we've got, of course, I've also been able to go ahead and get our YouTube chat open at the same time as the Twitch chat. So hello everybody on YouTube. Hope that you're all doing very well indeed. People on Twitter, no idea how to find it, if I'm honest with you. Next week we'll have it all sorted out. But in terms of that then, we've got Twitch, we've got YouTube, we've got Twitter, we've got you all watching along here today. And it should prove to be a very entertaining, very dramatic French Grand Prix. So up towards the start-finish line we go then with Dirk Chocolate. Let's see how this lap shapes out then. Down towards the first corner we go then, and onto the brakes he goes, opening up that corner as much as he possibly can before then swinging back across into turn number 2 and then running out as far as he possibly can on the exit. So this then looking like a lap very much on the limit so far for Dirk. Let's hope that for their sake they don't end up invalidating it or losing the car at any point as well. They come through the first sector then, and it's of course Purple. He is the first driver out there. But as other cars start to come across that sector timing line, not many cars beating him there, it seemed. That stayed Purple despite the Aston Martin of Matty D coming through after that line as well. So Dirk then, one of the quickest cars on track right now. And he comes down into that chicane then, chucks the car in. And so as we go through, we've got then the Ferrari of Noguera up in front. They will, of course, jump to one side, as they do right there. You can see on the left-hand side of your picture. And it's then Purple second sector for Dirk as well. Again, first car out there, but we'll call them out as we see them. And so as we come up to the third and final sector, then he's got to throw the car in here. Make sure he doesn't make a mistake like Charles Leclerc did a couple of years ago. Or last year, I should say. It's nearly 2 years ago, but there we are. And so then as he comes through here, then a little bit wide of that apex in the left-hander. But again, as we've said all day long, it's one where you don't necessarily want to be touching it. As you then come through that final penultimate corner then into the final turn now. Get that car rotated as quickly as possible so you can get on the power nice and early. Dirk has done just that indeed. He opens up DRS. He stays on the left-hand side of the circuit to just do as straight a line as possible he can. It's a 130.7. And a second up on that time so far is Jan van Heffen, who then posts a time that is almost a second up. It is a 1:29.795 as the first run in Q3. And Benji then saying, why do I join and see Dirk and Chesnoid in Q3? I think I've missed a lot. Well, you better strap in, son. We've got plenty more to do. So, currently then, Raz and Chai on your screens right now in the McLaren. And they have got that car hooked up nicely. Purple in the second sector for them as we come on through and into the right-hander. And so, Jess, then, tell us about what's happening in the last parts of this lap.
Wow, it is very understeery part of the lap. You've got to get the car really nailed. There's a track which requires a bit more downforce compared to some of the tracks we've been in before. Las Vegas requires little to no downforce at all. Obviously, we're at Abu Dhabi, which required a bit more downforce, and France even more downforce than that. So if you have a setup which requires more downforce, it will work very well here. Unless around the Michelle Straight, you probably need less downforce. But Razan Chai up to the line. He goes fastest. He was purple, I believe, in almost every sector. The only sector that he didn't get purple was in the final set, so Johan van Geffen beat him there as well. No one is able to beat the final sector apart from Skyzy, who slots himself into P2. And Dirk saying there's a lot of time in there, which surely suggests Dirk can go even quicker. Is that Dirk going full beast mode, it seems, Dan, this week?
Well, if it's a beast mode that he's doing right now, it's a bit of a pussycat, to be honest with you. He's slowest of all the times that have been set so far in Q3. I do love him to bits, but we've got to rib him when we can. And when we see him now starting to move down the order, it's a good thing to hear that he does have a lot more time in there. It's a good thing that he's got that confidence he'll be able to find that time. Not so good, though, for the driver on screen at the moment, Meraki, who has, on the weekend, where everything has aligned for him, really, in trying to gain time over his championship rival, Ben Daly, where Ben is not taking part this weekend owing to his new career as a diving instructor over in Zimbabwe. It then means that, he has got all that potential, but he has actually abandoned that lap. He invalidated, and so that means that Meraki is still down in P9 at this moment in time. He may have to just do it as a once. We're on board with Peya at the moment with that Mercedes car. And so as they come on through then through the left-hander, this then a pretty quick line that we've seen just being taken through there. So that was good from them to be able to maximize that performance as much as they possibly can through the great big long left-hander. And the Mercedes cars then, as being pointed out by Akaz in the chat, they are doing some teamwork. There was a little bit of towing and toing and froing there as well. And as they come up towards the line then, Peya is going to go right in behind his teammates. 2 1:29.1s for the two Mercedes cars. And they currently line up second and third at their home Grand Prix. So this is looking to be a spicy end to qualifying here. And the times, of course, not quite as quick as what we saw in Q2. But, of course, this is the banker lap. This is where everyone is going to want to just get that time in nice and cleanly and then push in the second lap. And for Tom, for Meraki, well, that's not something that they're going to be doing. Because for Meraki, you saw earlier on, of course, they invalidated the lap. For Tom, they've not only invalidated the lap, but they've also put the wrong tyres on to set a good time. They've got themselves a set of intermediate tyres on. No one told them that Inter's championship is in Q1. Dear oh dear. But now, just the one car on circuit, and that is Peya coming back into the pits. And we've got 4.5 minutes to go then in this session. And so we've got plenty of time as they're on the in-lap here. Just getting themselves into the pits. They'll get themselves turned around, all reset, ready to go. And then I would imagine that as they come in, their teammate will go out. And then that will allow MSkyZ to get out there, set a quick time, potentially get the tow from Peya as the car on the out lap. And then, of course, when MSkyZ is on their in lap, it will then be able to provide the tow to their teammate, which is exactly what they did previously there. So there we are then. Ras and Chai is currently on their out lap to go there. We've got the question in the chat from Hi, I'm somebody too. I'm somebody 3, so you beat me in the queue there. But where is Tiamat Marduk, Benjamin Daly? Has he gone out before Q3? No, Ben has a new career now. He's no longer a content creator. He's instead decided to go and tame elephants in the Southern Sahara. So that's what he's doing now. So Rasenchai then on the outlap, he's staying to one side here, potentially trying to allow Chesnoid to come on past, but Chesnoid themselves is on an outlap, so there's not going to be anything going on there. So it's going to be a little bit maybe riding the brakes, things like that. And cheeky here from Rasin, not taking the escape road, not taking the chicane, I should say, which will then come along with additional tyre wear. And so as we just keep on going here, then we've got a little bit of time until we start to see some proper action at the end of the lap here. And Hoodie Pete at least likes my jokes, if not everybody else.
I like your jokes, Dan, as well. You seem to make up funnier jokes every time. So keep this up because it'll be very entertaining as well. But it will be good to let the chat know that we want your predictions in the chat on who you think is going to get pole position today. So who are you rooting for? Who do you think is the driver that's going to be top dog today here in the Paul Ricard circuit, and who do you think could win this race? But first of all, we're going to ask for pole position. Who do you think is going to get pole position? Let us know in the chat. And but Ben is currently leading the championship, for those of you that are still wondering. But him being not here doesn't mean he would lose the leader championship, because Meraki has got to score a huge points haul in order to do that. And currently he's sitting in P9. We've got Hi, I'm Somebody Too saying Meraki for pole. A name that I can't pronounce saying Razin. We've got Frank Triggs who saying they needed Tom 97 to take points from Meraki this week, while Tom 97 is not here. James saying Razin. Someone else saying Razin as well. Razin helmets reminds me of a tennis ball, apparently. Sam Bates saying Meraki, and Pete saying Yoret. So those are your predictions. Chesnoid is currently on a lap right now. One of the first drivers, I believe, on a lap, and there's lots of people trying to get as much slipstream as they can. And just, you probably didn't see it on the screen, but like we were saying earlier, both the Mercedes are doing the cheeky tactic of the nice Torres player, moves out the way of Skyzy and is able to get some nice slipstream. We'll see if he's gained a lot of time in sector 2. Remains to be seen. And look at this toe. That was very close to them coming together, but that was a lot of slipstream being given from the two Mercedes there. I wonder if Skyzy will return the favour. I think he will.
I think so as well. The two Mercedes drivers have proven to be a very, very capable team. They have their own engineer as well that helps them out over the course of these races too. So it's something which, you know, they put an awful lot of time into, and they try and do the best result they can for their team as well as for each other. So I have no doubt that that is what is going to be happening here. So round the final corner, is this the potential pole time for the Creator Series race in the French Grand Prix? Up towards the line comes MSkyZ, and it is the fastest time provisionally for the moment, and the quickest time we've seen all day, a 1:28.613. That is a tenth and a half quicker than what we saw in Q2. That is a fantastic time. Now then, on to Matty D in the Aston Martin. They come across the line to start a lap now. So as they come through turns 1 and 2, they're currently towards the back of those who've set a lap time. Currently, it is Dirk Chocolate at the back of that particular queue. They are just a bit further back in the road. We will be seeing Rasin in a few moments time, and in fact we see them right now as they go on to their timed lap. They had started a lap but compromised it, so this is now a compromised final run where their tyres are not going to be quite at their best. They might not have all the fuel to make it all the way around as well. It is sometimes a tricky circuit when it comes to fuel here in France, so we'll wait and see. But as it is, then Rasin is going to be chasing on after that pole. Jorrit Jan van Heffen has set a time. It is good for the front row, but not for the front position. It's a 1:28.9, so it's a very good time indeed. But you'll have to wait and see as to whether or not his pace may materialise a bit more or less in the race itself. We will wait and see. But as it is, then Rasenchai comes round the last few corners then in that final sector. It's looking like a good time so far from the McLaren driver. Let's see if the car will hold out right the way until the end of the lap. Little bit leery at the back end in the penultimate corner's exit. Now as they come powering out of the final turn, it doesn't look quite as aggressive a lap this one here, and up towards the line they go. Nogueira has retired from the session. Rasenchai goes second place by just a few hundredths of a second, and now Peya comes up to the line. What can they do at their home race? It's good, but it's not quite snarling up towards the line. They've gone. It was third. It's now fourth as Meraki goes up to third place. It's a good time there from the Williams driver, who needs to be able to score 10 points or more in order to get themselves into the championship lead come the end of this race. Dirk Chocolate comes across the line. They do find some time, a very large chunk of time, in fact, over a second, to end up going 7th place overall. Noguera has retired, as we say. Tom has set their time and has finished out as a 29.6 in 9th place. And, well then, this is shaping up to be a very, very good race at the French Grand Prix. That I'm very certain indeed. Let's wait and see if Dirk is happy with that. Let's just have a look up on his screen now. And there's a smile there on his face. We've not seen that smile awful lot this season, but it's good to see it back on his face. So there we are then. Dirk in P7. That's one of their best starting positions of this season so far. Hopefully it means they can get some points for themselves as well. So here we go then. We've got ourselves the grid set then. So your top 10. We will get that confirmation in just a moment or two's time when the timing tower comes back with all the full results. Radio from Rasin Chai. I messed up sector 3. Oh dear, we did see that in the last couple of corners. That exit of the penultimate turn. For the top 10 in the French Grand Prix in the Creator Series, it is MSkyZ lining up on pole at their home race. Then it is Rasin Chai in the McLaren who will start alongside them. Then from the second row backwards, we have Meraki chasing after 5th place or better to take the championship lead. And then Peja, Jorrit Jan van Heffen. We've got Matty D in the Aston Martin, Dirk Chocolate in the Red Bull, Noguera in their first appearance in the Ferrari. We have Tom in the Alpine and Chesnoid Gaming in the AlphaTauri. Does manage to get a time in the 129s, but this is a very, very close spread of the field so far in this session. This has been great qualifying hour to watch, or mostly qualifying hour. Jess has now been lost to the void, of course, as you can see there. She has started her new career, her new life as a window washer at night. That's what she does. Harry, over to you and the clipbook.
Yes, well, a very exciting end to Q3, and it was a pretty intense battle between those SkyZ and that mistake, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. In that, in the clipbook, we will. And he does a very similar thing to what we've seen a couple of drivers do. At the apex, he just is slightly too early on that turn-in. And what you can see is, there it is, invalidation, unfortunately for him. Then, well, this actually is this Rasin Chai clip where he does invalidate very early on. So he's coming through into turn 1, gets a very nice apex, and then you can just see he was slightly wide there, and then he just on that exit of that, just outside of those track limits.
So then, Harry, in terms of all of that, in terms of what we've seen, what do you think has been one of the biggest surprises for you in the course of qualifying?
I'm a bit surprised at that Vince DNF in, not DNF, elimination in Q1. I think that was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect him, as he's been really good in the last few races, and to see him out in Q1, it's just really unfortunate. But it's also been wonderful to see Dirk up there qualifying in P7. That was a nice, I think a well-needed surprise for him as well. He will no longer be demoted to AlphaTauri. Helmut Marko cannot say anything about that P7, which was, always wonderful to see. And well, SkyZ, I don't know how many poles it is in a row, but he seems to enjoy that pole position slot quite a lot.
He certainly does. He certainly does indeed. So what we're going to do, we are, Hi, I'm Somebody Too says, audio is about as reliable as Mazepin and a Haas. That's not fair. You could always reliably rely on Mazepin to crash in a Haas, so that's not fair. It's a bit more like the reliability of the Ferrari engine. That's maybe a bit more like what it is. But here we go then. We've got drivers out on circuit right now then. Here are the tyres that people have selected for the start of this race, and some going aggressive. You've got Meraki, you've got Matty D, you've got Tom, all starting on a soft tyre. And so then we've got mediums for the majority of the field after that, but then with some key differences, some key choosers here and there. So it's Dirk Chocolate, it's Safso, Michi Hoyer, and B. Roy. So cars that you would say, with the exception of Dirk, all a bit out of position, really. You know, drivers we would have expected to get up into sort of Q3 or certainly to the top end of Q2, particularly in the case of Safso, Michi Hoyer, and B-Roy. But then, of course, that guy Vince also really out of position versus where we would expect them to be. Medium tyres for them to start with, so they're going for that a bit more conventional strategy. Those in the hards are, of course, going to have to basically just try and, you know, keep themselves safe and out of trouble for the first few laps, first few corners, take advantage of any early safety cars there might be, or just bed into the race. And the hards will then come to them as the session goes on. It will then give them the performance to catch back up to those who will have perhaps overtaken or harassed them in the early parts of the race, and then they will get back towards the front here. But it's one of these things where we've got then MSkyZ at the head of the field, and let's just go ahead and wait and see what everybody else is able to do here. People forget that Mick didn't get any points either. Nobody did hold up Max Verstappen for a number of laps at the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2021, so, you know, there you go. So in terms of this then, round the final corner comes MSkyZ. A little bit of tyre smoke as they get themselves onto the start-finish straight then, just getting those brakes up to temperature, getting those tyres up to temperature as well. Of course, they'll manually slot themselves into those grid spots. And as we get ready then, we've got the cars now lining up on the grid, and you've got them just testing the limits, trying to push as far forward in the box as they possibly can without then invalidating, and that's exactly what Europe has done there. You can see that Haas just moved a bit too far over to the right-hand side, a bit too far forward as well, so they've been disqualified from the formation laps. They'll start as far back in their grid box as they're allowed to, and now then, as we've got all drivers on the grid, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and it's go, go, go for the French Grand Prix, and it's a terrible start for the front row, particularly for our pole man, that being MSkyZ. Rasenchai's going to try and hang it all the way around the outside. Will they do so? Yes, they do! The McLaren goes all the way around the outside at turn number 1, takes the race lead, and that then is going to cause all the local hearts in the virtual grandstands to absolutely sing. But up the inside goes MSkyZ, a late dive bomb move there to try and get himself back up into the race lead. He has re-secured that race lead, and now Meraki is getting involved as well, but we've already got a safety car after some sort of drama has befallen the back of the field.
Well, I think there was some contact being made from the likes of Vince, Infratic, Tom and Pear in the background. A few damage from wing. I'm sure we would get a lovely clip of that soon as well, because I'm not quite sure what happened there, but unfortunately some of their races have gone to pot. But a safety car already in lap 1 around the French Grand Prix. Not really that surprised there, but SkyZ lost the lead, then got it back again. I'm sure the home fans were probably really worried for him for a second, but now they're very happy that he's going to be taking the race lead heading towards the next few laps. And I think he's probably glad that there's a safety car now, because he's able to get hardly any toe at anyone. But anyway, that's Rasenchai and SkyZ having a good start as well. Meraki on soft. He's probably one of the drivers that could have benefited from that safety car, but he's got less time now to try and get past the 2 drivers on the mediums now.
Yeah, so looking at this then, it is a much different order than what we saw earlier on, and it might change yet again as drivers elect to go into the pits for repairs or for changes in strategy or whatever it happens to be at this early stage of the Grand Prix. Certainly Matty D is going into the pits at this point in time. Adam Sanderson, you can see, has no front wing at all on that Alfa Romeo, so sadly for them, they are going to have to make an adventure, a little trip into the pits, but it does mean that they essentially get a fresh set of inters for later on. Tom gets a 10-second time penalty, so that that thing that can sometimes happen that we're technically not allowed to say because of who sponsors this stream. That has happened as he's come into the pit lane. So he's got a 10-second time penalty, and he's back out of the pit lane. So actually, no, I'm being fed false information. I'm being fed false information. I have been made up to look like a fool, as there is no problem getting into the pit lane for Tom. He's just gotten a 10-second time penalty, presumably because he's come across the line too quickly and not stayed under the safety car Delta line instead. So there we go then. As it is, we've got 10-second time penalty for him. We've got clips of the start. So over to you, Harry, and to the clip book.
Well, what we've got here is we've got a bit of a view of what happened. Unfortunately, I was gone on Adam Sanderson's stream to try and see what happened with him, but I got an ad, so I couldn't quite get the duration of the clip. But what I do have is Tom, what happened to him, and well, what happened, because we did see him tumble down the order, so we can just sort of wander through here. You see everyone's very, very close together around the early corners. He sends one to the inside, and there goes spinning is the Mercedes. And I think what happens is that, there you go, collection. That's where all that damage comes from, is from that spin from Thom sending it to the inside, and then the Mercedes and the Alpine just being collected by a multitude of cars. There was also a Ferrari round, and obviously Adam lost his front wing, unfortunately. Yeah, and that means with Thom's floor damage, that's really bad because he can't repair that. And yes, of course, and that 10-second time penalty as well. But wow, that was an interesting start then, and that's pretty much all I got from the start. A very interesting incident, and well, we'll see how that plays out for the drivers that have got damage for the rest of the race. Lucky they got that early safety car though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in this instance, that penalty may well be justified for Tom, because it was a good move to the inside on the first car, but when he went just a bit too far, that then was what resulted in the contact with the Mercedes. So I think it was just a little bit over ambitious there from him. He's a lovely man, of course. We know him well, but yeah, a bit over ambitious on that particular occasion. Can't serve a 10-second time penalty, of course. Can only serve that at the end of the race. Have it added to your race time. It's not like a 5-second time penalty where that can be served in the pits. And of course, if it could be served in the pits, I imagine that during a safety car you can't serve it. But you certainly can't serve a drive-through penalty during a safety car period. Oh, you can serve time penalties, I'm being told. So there we go. Then that's me not playing this game for a little while, and the exposure of my lack of knowledge. What's that? I don't play the game as often as I probably should. Gasps heard all around the virtual audience. But there we go then. So at this particular stage, we've got Peya in the pits again. So the Mercedes driver has gone out. They've got themselves a change of tyres, and then they've changed tyres again. So technically now they don't have to stop again. But you'd imagine that they probably will. But what this could crucially result in could be maybe going from a set of mediums to another set of mediums later on. So it does open up some strategic options for them. They just now need to get themselves onto the back of the queue, get those tyres from that 70 degrees up then to around the working window of about 90, 95, 100 degrees, depending on what it is for this particular track and for that particular medium compound. But as it is then, up at the front of the queue, we've got M-Sky Z leading the way from Rasinjai, Maraki, Jorrit Jan van Heffen, then Hayden Gullis. Big start for Hayden there. And then Dirk Chocolate up one place into 6th. You've got Noguera in 7th. You've got Yours Sincerely and Chesnoid Gaming. So Yours Sincerely has had an amazing start to jump up to P8. Safso is up to P10. You've got Mr. Dale. You've got B-Roy. You've got Michi Hoyer, Punju, Matty D having a horrible start there, down a lot of positions, nearly 10 places down on the field. Then you can also see that Adam Sanderson technically up a place after then serving that pit stop to get the new front wing on the car, so you could say it's an improvement, potentially. Then Infratic is behind that guy Vince, who's not been able to make too many positions up off the start there, but of course we were not green flagged racing for a huge amount of time. Instead, we are going on another tour of the circuit behind the safety car.
To warm up their tyres so they're a bit more comfortable going into the next stage of the race. I thought we were going to be in for coming in this lap and it would have been green flag racing because that's what happened in other leagues, but no, definitely not. It looks like that they have one more chance to get their tyres up to the window. Everyone's caught up to the safety car, so that's weird, but I think that just puts people back into the mindset again. It was It was, according to my ear, it was Payet that was a bit too further back before the safety car was due to come in. So, yeah, now he's caught up. It should be coming in this lap. Hopefully no carnage in towards turn. Well, I think it was turn 3 and 4 last. No, actually, it was just after turn 3 and 4 last time. It was in the braking zone just here almost where they lost it.
On that car.
Restart, and Razinchai will do his best to try and get Sky off the lead. Now, what Sky has to do is to restart in the way that the others around you are not going to gain a huge advantage. And that is very difficult to do when the start-finish straight is very, very long. As a safety car down is in this lap.
It certainly is, and has been pointed out by Hoodie Pete in the chat, but I'm going to rephrase it slightly to make it region appropriate. Given that we've got one Mercedes at the top end of the field being driven by a Frenchman, and one Mercedes at the back of the field being driven by a Frenchman, we're technically in one of the largest baguettes that you've ever seen. There you go. So, there we are then. We've got ourselves Tom on the radio there saying just need some time to get back into it. So we'll see how they're able to recover, see if they've got themselves maybe enough performance there in the car to then have themselves a decent enough race, shall we say, a race of recovery, things like that, because that's going to be the thing there. So what we'll do then, we will end up going through the final turn now. Then it looks like he's bolted, so away goes MSkyZ. And out the final turn, away we go. And so off the start then, he has been followed very closely indeed by Razinchai. Rasin then goes down towards turn number 1, chasing after the Mercedes, but no move materializing just yet. Then Meraki keenly follows the pair of them too, and then there's a little bit of a gap starting to form already back to Jan van Heffen behind. And as we come down towards the corner there, this is where the contact was made in the first lap between the pair of them. Does Rasin go for the same move? No, he does not. And so now then, as they come through here into the next corner then, everything is still just driver's line astern at this stage, but with more grip available for Meraki on those soft tyres. I would not be surprised to see him maybe trying to make a move on Rasinchai down this back straight then. So as they come out of here, just a reminder for you, we do have some Discord issues as out to the inside goes Rasinchai then. He pulls out of the slipstream in the Mercedes, he pulls back in front before the braking zone, and then he's able to get that McLaren up into the lead of this race. So Skyzy back down the order then into second, and now he's got his mirrors full of Meraki, and this is all high speed, all flat, foot to the throttle. Foot to the floor rather, levels of performance at this point here, and with the slipstream, with the extra bit of ERS that could be utilised here as well, this is certainly an area where he needs to be looking in his mirrors to make sure that Jake is not making a move on him, and Jake is getting closer and closer all the time. Just a tenth separates the pair of them. Will he go for a move to the right? No, he will not, and instead they go through the left-hander then, this corner that has caught so many drivers out in the course of their practice, their qualifying, and now here into the race as well. And as they go through then, it is Rasinchai at the head of the field by nearly half a second ahead of MSkyZ and Meraki, with Jan van Heffen coming back into the mix now with themselves in the Haas in 4th place. So this then is looking to be a very interesting form book that we're reading now in this race. We've got, of course, another couple of laps until DRS is re-enabled, and when it is, we've got just the 2 DRS zones on this particular racetrack. There's the one down the start-finish straight, and then there's that one down the beginning part of the Mistral straight as well. In towards the first corner then, Matty D has tried to make a move on B-Roy, make it stick, and he's trying that, but in the background, Mitchie Hoyer has lost the back of the car. They've speared off towards the wall. They've not ended up hitting that wall, but for a moment there, that would have been, that wasn't a code brown, that was a whole code red and brown, probably, and that's a horrible image that all of you can now imagine in your minds. But as it is then, that guy Vince has been able to make up some spots then, up 5 places off of their race start, up into 15th now at this stage, and then this is, well, back up to the front of the field. We've got, and back down the field, we've got Tom now having a little look at the back of the Alfa Romeo of Adam Sanderson at this stage. 17th place for Adam at this point in the race then. They've lost 1 position off the race restarts to Infratic, and so now then they're going to be chasing on after that, trying to get that place back, trying to get themselves some points here today. But as it is then, Tom is a car wounded at this stage. They have that big floor damage that we saw on their MFD earlier on when we were looking at their point of view from the clip book. Yellow floor damage, and so now then up the inside, just up ahead, goes one of the Red Bulls. That is that guy Vince making a move up the inside of Punju, and as they go through then, we see some some similar moves happening or being set up in the background here. But then as we go through, the left-hander Punju defends resolutely from Infratic behind, while that guy Vince goes chasing on after B-Roy up in front. But then up the inside, certainly chancing his arm, goes Punju. And now then into the final turn, that has resulted in an error that has been exploited by Infratic. Infratic briefly ahead for a moment before now they draw back alongside, and Punju is back ahead for the time being. Now they're side by side down towards the first corner then, and you can hear it, the auctioneer has come out then, and we go down to turn number 1, and Punju has now had to relinquish the place to Infratic. Corner cut there for them as well, but you can see there's some track extension going on in the exit for the 2 cars in front, and that guy Vince has now been passed by Infratic as well, so Infratic is on the charge.
Yes, everyone seems to be on the charge in that little battle as well, but what about the guys in the front? Skyzy is about 4/10 behind, so we'll see if we can go on board with him. DRS is activated, so we'll see if Skyzy can go over for the lunge, or rather than trying to miss your straight. Nope, he cannot. Neither can Meraki. Yorit was probably the closest in at that lap to get him past, but these top 5 are definitely making a move for themselves, but not the moves that we were expecting. We are seeing some side-by-side action happening in the midfield though, and I think that was what we just seen earlier on, which is absolutely amazing. We're about to see a battle happening between that guy Vince and B-Roy going side-by-side and towards turn number 10. That live is trying to get the cut back as well, heading towards turn 11 to the right-hand side he goes, and that guy Vince gets past him and up into P14, and then we've got, I think, Skyzy staying in P2 at the moment, so he's not making any inroads, but we've got the 2 Alpha Tauris making headway in this race. Great to see them battling for position. No team orders I see there.
So there we go then. Safso into the pits at this early stage of the race, you must say. He's on the hard tyre as well, so clearly just not enjoying that hard tyre at all. Elected to get rid of it and try something a bit different, but that is going to drop him quite a ways back from the pack. That being said, though, he will be able to build up a big... he's got a nose cone change, you can see there, of course. So he's going to be able to now get himself into essentially a really big undercut at this stage. He can then go out there in a great big area of clean air, and he can just set good lap after good lap after good lap, and then when other cars start to then try and get themselves up the order, then it's going to be a big old problem for them, because he'll have passed all of them here. Now, whilst we've got a relatively quiet moment, I say that, we've got the race leaders separated by just 1/10 of a second come the braking zone at the end of the Mistral straight there. As they come down out of the exit then, we can see that there's some movement in the back of the field, well, not the back, but further back in the field from where we are right now, with Mr. Dale and Chesnoid having a bit of a scrap here, with Matty D also in the mix as well too. You can see them now having a slipstream fest all the way down towards the right-hander here, this very fast corner. They're going to go side by side through here. Surely not. No, they don't. Instead, the AlphaTauri just manages to sneak its way back up in front here of the Aston Martin. The Aston now pushed back outside of the top 10 and outside the points, crucially, but just in behind them is Perrier making their way up the field here in that Mercedes, a very, very quick Mercedes here in France. And as they go pushing on then onto the start-finish straight we go, and we watch then as MSkyZ is now just 0.3 of a second when we have these drivers all in front of what's going here. So down the start finish straight we go, and as they go down into turn number 1, then no use of DRS that we're seeing from Perrier, but not Perrier, sorry, MSkyZ on the Mercedes. They're just closing up with the slipstream, and that is that. They are not going then for a big move in the inside. So is there just a bit of gamesmanship going on here, trying to get everything happening, trying to get everything working at this stage in terms of, you know, setting themselves up maybe with a bit of lift and coast, things like that. So this is all pushing on for a very, very interesting, very volatile mix towards the end of this race. But look at this now. Meraki's soft tyres have really gone off the cliff. If you're at Jan van Heffen is now getting an enormous launch past them, and that then is either those softs starting to die very early on indeed, or it's just a big mistake from Meraki there. So that then promotes Yorit up into 3rd place. Now onto the podium steps. That is a great, great position for the reserve driver to be in. And in the Williams behind, Jake is just not able to get quite onto the same terms. This position should still get him the lead of the championship, but at this stage he's going to be wanting more than that, surely, Jess?
Yeah, I'm almost certain that Meraki would want a 3rd place in this race in order for him to take the lead of the championship as well. But I think we are about to see some how Safso got the damage that resulted in him going into the pits. So we'll see the replay in just a moment of his damage. So a lovely side-by-side view that you're about to see on the screen. So this is where Sasso is heading towards Mr. Straight, and he hit yours sincerely for good measure, unfortunately, and that was how he had to go into the pits, unfortunately. But that was why he's pushing on those soft tyres quite considerably and trying to get those fastest laps. But there we go. That was how Sasso got his damage there. And thank you to Hammy for providing that clip as well for the clip. But don't forget to send your clips in under stream clips, as we will be able to play it live on stream and analyse it for you, for everyone to watch. It's now attempt 3, I would say, for Skyzy to try and get past Razin Chai in towards Mr. Straight and in towards turn number 8. And I think he's got the move done, and Skyzy is up into the lead of the race down.
He certainly is. That is a great move there from the Frenchman, retaking the lead at their home Grand Prix. But at this stage, it is not a secure lead, as in fact, the lead is retaken by the McLaren of Razin Chai, who gets up the inside into the right-hander. And now Jan van Heaven is getting involved in the mix as well. Goes up the inside of the Mercedes. And now then, as they go through the corner, then there's going to be a squeeze there. Just enough room was given. And then they even backed out of it as well, did Jorit. But this then is proving to be a very closely fought battle up at the front of the field here. This is a brilliant move and brilliant battle that is shaping out between all of these drivers at this early stage of the Grand Prix. We're only at lap 10 out of 53, but we've got plenty more racing to come yet. Of that, I am fairly certain. So on board with MSkyZ then as he goes down the start-finish straight. Is he going to make use of DRS this time and get close in? Maybe try and get that move done on Razin? Well, if he does, it's going to have to be a late dive, and no, not this time. He instead elects to just follow in behind for the time being. Similar gaps now between the top 3, and then Meraki is just that little bit further back. Those soft tyres not giving that potential, that ability to get himself up and onto the back of these cars that are going on here. But as we cut then to Jake and what is going on there, we have, of course, the others up at the front of the field. Then you've got MSkyZ, you've got Jorit having that close fight. I suspect that we're going to be able to see a move here once again from MSkyZ or from Jorit. Certainly if SkyZ doesn't go for the move themselves here, then Jorit will, and Jorit comes with an enormous slipstream, and Jorit Jan van Heaven takes the lead, only briefly in the French Grand Prix before it's then snatched back away from them by Jorit Jan van Heaven, and that then demotes Razin Chai all the way back down to 3rd place with that lack of DRS. This is a brilliant little battle going on here. Skyzy now is in the head of the Grand Prix, but not for much longer. Now Jorit takes the lead, and he's up into the lead of the French Grand Prix at this stage in the race then, and whilst Skyzy must have thought to himself, I've gotten this all done, the thought currently going through his head must be one of, melt.
I have to say, people are summing up in the chat perfectly. Through goes Jorit van Heaven. It looks like through goes Lewis Hamilton moment in Silverstone 2022. What a commitment from the Haas driver. And he only found out he was racing last minute, and he's leading this race too. So very impressive from him. But looks like Skyzy is going to get the move once again in towards turn number 1. We haven't seen much moves through turn number 1 in this race, and Skyzy is going to prove us all wrong there. Down the inside in towards turn 1 and 2, and he retakes the lead of the French Grand Prix. And that's not going to have Razin Chai in third, because he's lost 2 places because of it. But if these two keep squabbling, it is going to allow the likes of Razin Chai and Meraki to potentially be back in this fight as well. Those are the 4 that could be realistically in this, because everyone else is out of that leading DRS train as well. And good to see the good to see the text commentary in the chat as well. But one driver that will be very happy with this, it would be Meraki, because he was winning within DRS because of squabbling, but not anymore, as Jorit trying to go for the lead once again. He had a bit of a squabble on the exit of turn 8, Dan.
He certainly did. Yeah, it's going to be a long stint, says Razin Chai. It's going to be a long race as well, I suspect. But yeah, Jorit tries to move up the inside, and then his front end is just shut off. The door closed firmly and viciously by MSkyZ, saying, "No, you are not coming by me, you non-French person." I forget exactly where Jorit is from. I assume it is from the Netherlands. In fact, yes, he is from the Netherlands, but there we go. But yes, he's saying, no Dutch people coming past me today, which is something that no F1 driver could certainly say this season. And so as it is then, we go out and down through that final sector. And so as they come through the last couple of corners, I feel like maybe some of the fight has gone from Jorit Jan van Heaven here at this point, because he is then now 0.7 of a second back. He's going to need that DRS to get back onto terms then with MSkyZ. But SkyZ is now pushing at a big effort here to just try and get that car as far away from the Haas as they possibly can. But as they come through these high-speed corners of turn number 1, sector 1 rather, it's going to be a difficult thing to keep that car behind, especially as they then come out onto the DRS straight in a few moments' time. Question from DJ Mastermind 75: is Nogueira the stand-in for Benjamin Daly? Yes, he is, for this race at least. So there we are then. It is whilst Ben has, of course, started his new career shining shoes over in South America. So that's what Ben is up to these days. Nogueira then is currently within DRS range of Hayden Gullis, as the Ferrari that he has taken over seems to be going along just perfectly fine. He goes up into 5th place and he gets himself up along past the Alpine, and he will now set his sights on the Williams ahead. And of course, if he does that, if he demotes Meraki down into 5th place, then Jake could potentially be looking at not taking over the championship lead from Benjamin Daly. Would put them on equal points at this stage if he gets just 10 from this race. And you can see here the point system. In fact, yeah, actually, there we go. It's a total lie from me. 5th place would still be perfectly fine. As you can see, 25, 20, 18, 16, 14 points. And so it would have to be as far down the order as 8th place for, of course, for Meraki to not take the championship lead here today. And then, of course, Ben would end up going on and getting back into things for the last 2 races of the season. But as it is then, back to the action at hand, and that you see in front of you. You've got Rasenchai just a half second away from Yorit. Yorit, in turn, about a half second away from MSkyZ. Now, that's only come back down over the course of this first start-finish straight, the DRS straight. And people pointing out that Ben's all over the place. He's got all sorts of new jobs after he's retired from content creation. Yeah, absolutely. He's been in Zimbabwe, the South Saharan desert. Now he's in South America. It's all sort of things, really, all at the same time. Don't forget, of course, his Saudi Arabian job that we mentioned earlier on as well. So there we are then. Exactly. As it is. We are watching then as they go down the Mistral Straight once more. Yorit is closing in, but I suspect he's not going to be quite close enough to make a move this time. Adam Sanderson gets our 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings.
Yeah, more battles happening in the midfield currently, which is what riding on board at the moment. Look at that huge DRS train as we're seeing that Ferrari being under pressure from near the front and near the back as well. The line is with Patrick and that guy Vez. That guy Vez is having a really great race from last attempt right now, and he's chasing down maybe Matty D in the future, but he's now the Vince train, and he's got Emphatic, Chesnoy, Tom. Tom was almost going to go for a move there. He's currently in P13 right now, but he's just staying behind Chesnoy in the Alpha Tauri. We've got P14 in the Williams chasing him down as well, and we got a driver in the pits. I believe that's a Williams, and that is Meraki. He's going from his soft tyres.
Absolutely. So into the pits then comes Jake to get those tyres changed. Now, of course, the worst thing in the world here for him would be that he comes out the pit lane and then, of course, that's it all done. That's the safety car then coming out, or a virtual safety car, something like that, where he's changed his tyres, done it the long way round with the full speed of the track, and then if the track speeds are neutralised, that's then where things could become a problem. As oh my god, I went musical there for a second as Adam Sanderson came down the start-finish straight and nearly collected Meraki as he was coming out of the pits. That was something which was. Well, I'm flustered by that one. That was nearly one of the biggest accidents I've ever seen. But there we go then. Are on board now with Tom in the Alpine. They're doing a very good recovery drive at this stage. Back into the points, of course.
Oh, Yorit's taking the lead.
They go
Yorit's taking the lead.
Yorit takes the lead of the French Grand Prix then. So he's done that just ahead of the high-speed right-hander at the end of that Mistral Straight. So now then, as we go through the next few corners, is there any counter-attack on offer from MSkyZ at this point, or does he instead want to just wait for the easy DRS pass? I suspect that's going to be what ends up happening, but as it is right now then, the French have taken a little bit of a battering on home soil today, with their driver being overtaken multiple times for the lead. Will they be able to get an encore and get themselves back up into the front of the race? So let's wait and see then. So we go on to the start-finish straight. Will DRS be in operation for the Mercedes? I suspect it is, as they're getting closer and closer. It's not actually. No, looking at that rear wing of the Mercedes, it is not open. That is just from the drag. That is just from the slipstream of the car closing into that one in front. And if there is then all these other bits and pieces going on, around the field, of course. It's just constant battles. There's now a little bit of a gap that's opened up between mSkyZ and Yorit, but then, of course, Racing is close on the back of mSky at the same time. And so as they go through these couple of right-handers now and onto that Mistral straight, let's just wait and see then if there's going to be any DRS being used by the Mercedes. You'd imagine that they would do at this stage to try and close in. Yes, it is. There you go. It opens up on the back of that Mercedes car. And as they go tearing down that back straight, then will they be close enough to make a move? I don't think they will be, you know.
Nope.
And into the braking zone they go. The smallest puff of tyre smoke there as they have a slight lock-up on the front left. And now then, as we go out of the exit there, is there going to be enough of a slipstream and a tow here for them to be able to launch a counter-attack? Launch a counter-attack, rather. Good England from me there. But I think that there is not. No, instead, we're going to stay line astern for the time being, but there's now a 5.8 second gap from Racing all the way back to 4th place. So this is clearly a bit of a class of their own at the moment with this top 3.
Yeah, I think those are the ones to watch currently. We were expecting Yorit and Skyzy to be up there. Same with Baz and Chai too. And I think they're using each other to make sure that they are the ones that are going to be ahead for the rest of the race entirely. But you never know. Obviously, safety cars could change all of that as well. And it'll be interesting to see how their tyres fare against the ones who are on freshers later on, with the likes of Jake being one of them. He's currently in 18th, but will the undercut work, or will them staying our means for just a little bit longer be the ones who would benefit from this mess? But Meraki has made, I believe, a second out of everybody in this lap. So is that going to be enough for the drivers to push? I would say so. I'm almost certain that these guys are aware of how much Jake is pulling per lap now.
Absolutely, yep. But of course, that big offset that he's got right now, that's whilst those tyres are good. If we take a look at the tyres that the drivers currently have on their cars, is up in front. We have a change for the lead once again, with mSkyZ retaking the lead of the French Grand Prix ahead of Jorit van Heffen. And then Racing Chai has a brief moment of thinking about it, trying to get some sort of a move done on Yorit in reply, but it doesn't end up working for them. And now then, out the exit of the chicane, Yorit just has all the straight line speed in the world, gets right to the inside once again, and then, oh dear, Skyzy turns in on him. That's not what you want to see at all, but it does mean that Yorit then retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. So this then is a fascinating bit of driving that we're seeing at the moment here from these drivers, where they're attacking, where they're defending, where their cars are good and where they're weak. You have to say that through the corners it looks as though Skyzy's got a car that's much more underneath them, even though they're driving in the dirty air of Yorit's car. And then you compare that, of course, to what else is going on with then on the straights, when Yorit is able to just blast straight on by. We can see now then on screen is Meraki, and they are currently making some good inroads. They've got that big undercut going on right now, 1.4 seconds gained on the leaders over that previous lap. Of course, this would result in a great leap and increase in time for them here, but as we see on the radio, had to burn ERS to catch up. So part of that catch then has been through the use of ERS. Part of it is due to this new rubber, which is also what's going to help them here, getting the move done on Mr. Dale, who pushes them all the way over to the wall. He's always going to give us some excitement whenever you see Mr. Dale on your screens. And Meraki sets a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:33.0, and that then is indicative of the pace they've got in that car. But a big moment on the exit there as they go out onto there. We'll cut back to that in a moment if there is any change of position at all, but for the time being, if there is no change of position, then we'll watch what happens. And what's happened to Skyzy? Skyzy is stopped on track. The car has suddenly come to a halt. Oh my goodness me, he's down to 3rd place in 5 seconds. Back on what has happened there. That is an atrocious problem there for them. That is absolutely horrific, a terrible connection issue there clearly. And oh dear, that is a massive problem for the driver who wanted to take a win on home soil here today.
Hopefully we can get a replay of that, because we were riding on board with someone in the midfield, and then all of a sudden Skyzy lost about 5.5 seconds, and yeah, it looked very weird. So maybe it might have been a screen freeze that may have caused that, or maybe it was just like desync potentially. But we will, I think, jump to Harry to potentially analyse a little bit more for us on this clip. Okay, if you're not ready, Harry, that's absolutely fine. But if you are, take it away.
Come in, Harry.
Okay, I am here. I do promise. So what happened here with Skyzy then? It was a really unfortunate one. I promise I am actually on that clip now. It's just switching. Well, my goodness, this was really unfortunate for him. You can see him just come out of the corner. He comes round. He's moving up the gears. Everything looks fine. Come on, go. Come on, happen. Yep, there you go.
No.
It just stops completely. I mean, there's literally... He did nothing wrong. And it's really unfortunate. I think you can see because he stops...
Just as that's going on, we're going to have to cut over you here, Harry, I'm afraid, because back on track, you can see there's action here, down into the braking zone of the Mistral chicane. We've got Meraki up the inside, getting that move done on Tom, and so late braking on those fresher tyres, he's able to get himself up and past. He might even fancy a chance at Infratic here. These two have a history, of course, good friends, but also have a great deal of controversy and battling that goes on between them, but Infratic is trying to make his way past that guy Vince at the same time, of course, so now as they go through here then, and with that grip, look at the difference in grip there in performance for Meraki. He's able to get that Williams up and pass into P9, and that then is a great move. And apart the circuit, you never usually see it happen, but due to the camera angle, which of course we have no control over, we just didn't manage to quite catch the full beauty of that move. Brilliant bit of driving there from Meraki. Now he's got that guy Vince just in front of him. This should be a relatively easy DRS pass down the start-finish straight, and then after that, just 4.3 seconds up the road, is the Renaissance, the rejuvenated Dirk Chocolate.
Dirt Chocolate has been looking so good as well. Same with his teammate as well. In at the top 10. Who we would have thought we would have said this going into the French Grand Prix? Well, good minds think alike there. They're proving us wrong with the amount of pace that they have on those hard compounded tyres. But we do know that Jake is chasing down Dirt Chocolate like a madman, is looking to get past as well. And I know Dirt Chocolate will like to defend like a madman as well. Has got a battle for the lead as Joris got past Razinchai once again. And he's on a mission to take the win of this race. But Razin is going to get a very good toe from Joris through turn 9 and 10. But I don't think he's going to go for the move just yet, because he's not going to have any DRS. But it's now turning into a 2-car fight, not a 3-car fight for the race victory. Shame what happened to Skyzy, but we've got, I believe, Hayden Gullis chasing Noguera for P4 as well. I think the battle between himself and Skyzy as well. Skyzy probably wasn't expecting to be involved in this battle, but you got to deal with what you got to deal with at this moment in time, and you just got to concentrate on what's going on now, not in the past. Let's just hope he's able to make up what he's lost from those last few laps. And meanwhile, at the front, in between Razinchai and Yorit, Razinchai almost got the move in towards turn number 1, but couldn't quite do it. But Dirt Chocolate is on from his hard side, and his pits, I was not expecting to pit this early, especially since the ones on the mediums haven't even pitted yet.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and so we'll wait and see as to whether or not they're going to end up, going for a 2-stop now, or whether it's going to be a potentially trying to go all the way to the end on these tyres. Of course, the cars are going to be much lighter at this stage than they were at the beginning of the Grand Prix. All that fuel will have burned off over the course of the stint, and so that will be helping them in terms of management of tyres over a longer period of time than they would have been able to do previously. Into that chicane at the end of the straight then, Racin's not close enough to be able to make anything happen, so we cut to that guy Vince, who's in this fight with Infratic at this moment in time, and this is going to be a pass. I can feel it in my bones. And so as he goes to the inside then, that guy Vince from the back of the grid is now up to P8. This has been a stellar drive from the Red Bull driver. Absolutely fantastic to watch. And now then, though, it's something to really just put into perspective just how much pace Jake has got on those newer, fresher medium tyres, because they are now 3.8 seconds up the road from that guy Vince, so they only overtook a couple of laps ago. So this is a great run of form that we're seeing here from Jake, but of course, he's going to have to pit later on, and the question is going to be, will he have enough of a buffer over the cars around him that he's fighting, in terms of those at the top end of the field, those being Yorit, Racing, M-Skyzy. If they all pit now, then of course he is going to come out ahead of them. But he is going to be then very slow towards the end of the race. He's going to have to pit again at least once. Technically, he doesn't have to. He has now satisfied that rule to be on 2 different tyre compounds in the race. But it's one of those things where you've got then a driver who's not going to be able to, I think, take those tyres all the way to the end. So as a result of that, what's happening with Infratic?
Infratic has just got past that guy Vince again for P8 there. And just a note on Meraki in P7. Meraki's gained 8 tenths a lap in the last few laps alone. That is the rate of knots that Jake is catching the rest of the field currently. So maybe some of the drivers are going to think, when am I going to pit next? As Safso has just set the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:33.352, so he's also catching in the rate of knots, but unfortunately he's down in 19th spot due to his damage that he's got so far. But with the likes of yours sincerely as well, this could be a good fight between these guys in the midfield as well, so don't count them out as well, because in the Prix series, top 15 score points, unlike the top 12 from last season. So at the moment, it goes up to Adam Sanderson, who's all the way up into P15. So he's gained quite a few positions in this race. And you can see the point system on the screen there. So all the way up to 1 point for 15th place. And at the moment, as it stands, well, Meraki will still be taking the lead of the championship right now because he's in P7. But obviously, the top 6 have currently still yet to box. And he's now going to be in a battle between himself in P7 and Peya in P6 for that position. So we'll cross that battle in a bit. But meanwhile, we've got the overtake from Emphatic coming up very soon. Oh no, Adam Sanderson! 3-second time penalty. That's not looking good, Dan.
It's certainly not for them. Sadly not. They've been pushing along race after race after race. Let's take a look at this replay here. We can see Emphatic going very speedily past. So you can see then that they catch up to the back of that guy Vince. They get the move done there. And that then is that all sorted. So look like hard compound tyres there on the car of that guy Vince. As then straight on by goes Meraki on Peya. So Peya then is down a position. You'd expect that, given that they had that big incident at the start. They've then been able to claw their way back up the field. It's been a very, very respectable drive, I should say, from Peya. But Meraki then is in a great run of form at the moment. They're getting themselves further and further up the order. But of course, that is going to be something that then ends up being, something they will have to manage later on. We had a brief look there at Punju, I believe it was, and they have done a great effort to get themselves to P11, but they, like some others, you can see there, they have those penalties, so they are things which are going to come back and bite them later on. So there we go then, that is that. So, as it is then, we've got Meraki trying to do his absolute level best then to get back onto terms with those at the head of the field. He's still over 10 seconds away from that lead though, so he's been able to get a lot of time. It's not quite enough. So, as it is then, they go down the start-finish straight, and obviously no threat at all from Peya behind. Nothing to worry about there as far as Meraki is concerned. 5.4 seconds is the gap between Meraki and Hayden Gullis up in front. So let's wait and see how that gap ends up coming down, as Emphatic has just gotten the position of P8 from that guy Vince further back. And look at this, we come back to a battle that is in full swing here, because not only is Vince not letting that one go, and right within 0.2 of a second, but Tom is right there with them as well, up into P10 now at this stage, for the driver who has significant floor damage.
Yeah, to be fair, with him keeping up like that in this floor damage, it shows how really quick this driver is to try and get past the Alpine's home track, believe it or not. And it looks like Vince going side by side and winning. Frad's getting a missile straight, heading towards turn 8. And he's got the move done once again. Is his racing on ping pong? Well, these two keep switching, but this is like no tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the nature of this circuit. You've got those two DRS zones that are at really high-speed sections of track. Very easy to then get the move done. And I'll tell you what, he's going for a move back here, does Emphatic. Up the inside, and that's then a move done for the Ferrari driver. He gets himself into P8 once again, ahead of that guy Vince. And they are crucially, of course, constantly fighting with one another. They're not really working together as a group to be able to try and get themselves a little bit further up the way here. That guy Vince has got those hard tyres on, so they can go significantly longer in the race. Another time penalty for Adam Sanderson. He'll be lucky if he doesn't end up getting himself disqualified at some point in this race. That's 15 seconds. So that's half of his penalty allocation has already been given away there. In fact, no, it isn't, I believe. I think it's even less than that. Even more rather than half. Because I think it's 30 seconds you can get, but 30 seconds in the form of larger penalties. So I don't know. It's one of those things. Then we'll have to sit and wait for that one to maybe end up coming out.
That doesn't happen, Dan. No.
Well,
we
will wait
and
see.
Disqualified.
Well, we don't want anyone to be disqualified, but we'll wait and see what happens. So in terms of that, then, we've got Tom then in the background here of this particular fight. It is very much the Vince and Infratic show, with then Tom lurking away in the background, ready to take advantage of any mistakes or any problems that might arise as a result of this battle between these two. But up at the front of the field, no, I tell you what, we'll stick with this battle, in fact. So, no, I'm getting an apology in my ear. It's absolutely fine. It's my poor direction. But we've got Infratic then losing that position to that guy Vince, and so that then is those guys trading places once again as they head down into that chicane in the middle of the Mistral Strait. So it's all about then at this stage and this sort of mid part of the race, we're now just a couple of laps really, or a lap away from the midpoint of the race. This is then where it comes down to then the tyre strategy. You know, how long are you able to keep those tyres going for? You know, we have seen, and there we go, he's read my mind. And we've seen then that we've got 22, 23, 24 laps for an awful lot of these tyres, some of them having been put on a Skyzy then into the pit lane. So they're hoping to get a bit of an undercut done here. And of course, we've seen some big gains being made by other drivers in the field, particularly by Meraki, by going in on an early undercut. And that was when the tyres, of course, for those that they were chasing, were even younger, even fresher. At this stage, Skyzy should be able to get a great undercut on those that he's been fighting with to try and regain some of that time that was lost as a result of the glitch down the back straight. In behind them as well, you can see there was Hayden Gullis too, so they've come in at a similar sort of time. But there is 1.5 seconds between them as they come out the pit. And as they come out the pits, there's going to be an Aston Martin between them as well, because Matty D has slotted up the inside. And I tell you what, Dirk Chocolate was even thinking about it as well. They're 5 laps on the medium tyre for them so far. But for Hayden, then they've been able to defend so far at this point. But 5-lap old mediums on a 100% distance race. I suspect that given that they're already up to temperature, Dirk will be able to get a move done here pretty sharpish on the Alpine of Hayden Gullis. So this is something that we will have to wait and see here, but I suspect we won't be waiting too long, as through these fast flowing corners we come then, if you try and go full throttle through there on a set of cold tyres, then you are not going to end up keeping the back end. You can see Hayden has got the DRS from the car in front, and as we head down into the chicane, therefore, Dirk is not close enough to be able to make a move happen this time, though maybe on the exit here, he might be able to put something together to get that place on his rival, and he is indeed, look at this, he's got the speed out of the corner, out of the exit, he's got the inside line into the right-hander, and through they go! And it is Dirk Chocolate ahead. He has got that place ahead of Hayden Gullis. He is now right on the back of Matty D. Matty D with that blinking red light on the back of the car. That denotes that they have got less than 10% ERS remaining in their battery. So this then gives Dirk a fantastic opportunity to get something going on here. Nogueira goes into the pits for a set of hard tyres. We cut back to the action here, and I suspect that we've got a DRS pass coming around this next corner. Around the final turn they come then. Much better turn for Dirk as well. He's much closer to the apex. He's got the DRS. He's got the overtake button enabled briefly there for that extra little bit of power. And now then, as we come down that start-finish straight into the first corner, is there going to be contact between Dirk and Nogueira? No, there is not. But it is a compromise line. It's one where Dirk might end up losing a position that he's worked so hard to get. Might even lose one to the car behind as well. And there's side-by-side contact between the pair of them. Is there contact into the corner? No, there's not. They stay ahead. And Dirk Chocolate, despite all of that fight back from the car behind him, he's been able to keep that move, keep that place, and now then it's all going to be about how good of an exit he can get here and how quickly he can chase down Nogueira down that start-finish, that back straight rather. DRS is open for all 3 of these cars, and now it might be that Hayden's got the right march of all of them. No, he's boxed in. He's not going to be able to go anywhere. He's not going to be able to get the move done, and instead it's going to be Matty D forcing him to the outside, but no, Hayden hangs it all the way around the outside. Brilliant bit of driving there from Hayden Gullis as he gets the Alpine up into P11, and Matty D, through that constant fight back, moving this way and that, trying to get the move back. He initially loses the place, but will he now hang around the outside? It looks like he might well do that. He's going to need to be brave on the brakes here as they go into the right-hander. Round the outside drives Matty D, but it doesn't come off this time, and Hayden keeps the place. Not only that, but up in front, Dirk Chocolate has made the move on Nogueira, and we cut now to the battle at the front of the field. Rasenchai just a couple of tenths away from the back of Jan van Heffen.
Well, if these drivers can make those mediums last 27 laps, I'm almost certain they're probably going to try and go on to a set of soft, because we've seen the like of that guy Vince make his tyres last 25 laps, and I think we've just seen Skyzy pass Emphatic up to P7, so he's catching a bit. I think if those two don't go on to soft tyres later on in the race, I think they're pretty much screwed their strategy. But if they're potentially going to go on hards, well, it may be a bit of a push for them. So I think with them staying out, they probably can't come onto a bit of a compromise. Because at the moment, Meraki's your net race leader. In third position, I know he's not catching up yet, but he's within the pit window to take the net race lead with Perrier. Not in the net P2. I think it was Skyzy who's a net P2, and he's chasing down with the likes of Tom the Bomb as well, who's on older tyres, but Skyzy stays in P6, and he's chasing down that guy Vince on older hards, who's been on them for most of this race. That guy Vince is doing a very great job to try and defend for his life here. He don't forget he's starting from the back of the grid. Skyzy to the right-hand side, he goes through turn 10, in towards turn 11, an understeery part of the track. And I think Skyzy has got the jump ahead of his rival, as Adam Sanderson again has got another time penalty. So shame for him. He's got to be too careful that he doesn't get disqualified. But we've got some pit stops, Dan.
We certainly do. We've got Perrier in the pits at the moment in the other Mercedes, so they then are one of those who started further down the order, of course had that compromised start to the race as well. They didn't start down the order, I should say. They were further down the order as a result of that incident at the start. It's then mediums onto the car again, so they are committing to at least a two-stop strategy because they have to go, no, sorry, I lied. They started on a different set of tyres altogether, so they've gone medium. They had that pit stop right at the start at the safety car period, so they could go into the pits, get off of one compound, back onto a set of medium, so then they could do essentially a double medium race. So that is something that I've been reminded of, and I pointed out at the time as well. So there we are then. But interesting is the battle at the lead of the front. Oh, look at this here! As suddenly then we've got Ferraris everywhere. That's something that you don't really tend to see even in Italy. As Dirk Chocolate then gets his nose cut off ever so slightly by the Ferrari coming past, that being Nogueira. Infratic goes off of the circuit there, trying to then stay with his teammate. But as it is then, DRS available for all these cars here as they come down into the chicane. It's going to be one of these things then where Dirk's going to just do exactly what he did before. Just get a good exit out of here to then be able to get that run into the next corner, into the right-hander. It looks like he's got that on Infratic, and he's going to have to get it done because he's got all that pressure from the cars behind. Up towards the right-hander we go then. It's going to be four cars all fighting over the same piece of tarmac here as Dirk Chocolate gets the inside line. He gets it again into the next right-hand corner, and as we go through that then, back in behind, Hayden Gullis gets the move done on Infratic at the same time, or briefly does, before Infratic fights back. Infratic is fighting hard here. He's helping his former teammate in the process of all this, getting some of that pressure away from Dirk at this stage, and that then is going to allow him to press on and try and get the move done. Infratic goes into the pits, as does former race leader Jorrit Jan van Heffen. He's already been serviced, in fact, and he's onto a set of soft tyres. Soft tyres for 23 laps. I tell you what, he must know something different to what I know, because that to me would not have been the strategy I'd have gone for. But as it is then, up the inside goes Nogueira, gets that place on that guy Vince. Again, perhaps an unsurprising thing given how old Vince's tyres are at this stage. You then got Tom right in behind them as well, the similar sort of thing. And in the background there, you could briefly just see for a moment, Dirk Chocolate went to the inside, got the move done on Tom. Brilliant bit of racing there between the pair of them. Great opportunistic move. I really hope later on we can get ourselves a replay of that one in the clip book, because that was a great move that we briefly got to see for Dirk here. But for the rest of the field, we can see that at the front of this fight, look at the timing tower. Front of this fight is Jorrit Jan van Heffen. He's got then just Skyzy in front of him, before then there's a great big gap of clean air. And in all that clean air, of course, well, Skyzy is running. Skyzy has made back all that time that they lost as a result of the glitch that got them to be stationary on that back straight. He's very lucky he wasn't collected by anybody really in that moment. But he's then now back up to what could be considered a net P1 at this stage, given that Meraki is on an offset strategy to everybody else. Rasin Chai is, of course, on a different strategy to everyone. Well, maybe a similar strategy to those in third and fourth at the moment. He's just then staying out a bit longer. And you can see here then, Jorrit has caught back up into that DRS window of Skyzy as they come round that last couple of corners now to then be able to get themselves down the start-finish straight. Now, the key differentiator here is, of course, this different entire compound. We've got then on the hard tyres, I believe it is, Skyzy, and on the softs, breezing their way past is Jorrit. Shall I try that again? Jorrit Jan van Heffen gets himself up into P3, effectively net P1 at this stage. And so, yeah, this has then been this is something which is entirely expected, you would say, not because of differing skill levels, but just because of that differing tyre compound. Softs versus hards, the softs should have the edge every single time. Unless, of course, you're the Mercedes team at the British Grand Prix earlier this year. Courtesy of McLaren fact. Anyway, so as it is, we have in fact getting a 3-second time penalty at this stage in the race. Then we're back into the second half. Tom97 is in the chat pointing out that with no Ben, we get good racing and battles. No coincidence. You know, I'm half expecting you to be absolutely right there, Tom. But there we are then. So we've got a replay ready of the overtake that Dirk made earlier on. So we'll keep one eye on the action here and one eye on that replay. Over to the replay screen we go. And this replay then provided courtesy of Harry over in the clip book, of course. And you can see then down towards turn number 1. It's not here, but it's later on in the lap. You can see already that Alpine is really slow. Dirk's already moving slightly alongside. Has only got wheel to wheel there and then goes for the send up the inside. Great bit of racing there for the Red Bull driver. So as it is then, great bit of racing there. Great bit of racing here from MSkyZ. They're not going to go for the move, I would imagine, here. Yorick gets the fastest lap of the race at a 32.2. And Rassen is in at the same time as well. It's just come out the pits, in fact, and is 2.6, now 4.5 seconds back from those in front. So they have lost a huge amount of time by staying out that bit longer, but on the promise, on the hope that they will have better tyres come the end of the race. They're on softs, like you see with, of course, Yorit. So the question is going to be then, will those soft tyres on those two drivers' cars last until the end of the race? If they don't, then you'd have to say that Sky Z is in the best position right now, because with those softs, Yorit is gaining time hand over fist on Meraki at this stage. Meraki was 14 seconds ahead a couple of laps ago. He is now just 9.7 seconds ahead. He is the race leader, and so we'll have this obligatory shot of the race leader all on their own here as something that he can clip later on for his chat, I'm sure. But he's got low battery, you can see there. You heard earlier on the team radio, well, didn't hear, but you could read earlier on the team radio that he has got, he's used up all of his ERS in an effort to try and catch back up with those drivers that he is fighting with in this offset strategy. So this is an interesting one. This is a race which potentially has some more twists and turns yet to tell in the tale. Will Meraki be able to stay out until the end on those mediums? Will the softs last? Everything else that is going on there. Hoodie Pete pointing out that Dirk has got some different gravy today. I'm not sure how well gravy and chocolate mixes, but, you know, I've still got to make dinner, so I guess I could try it later on. But there we are. Then you can see the move to the inside just ahead of this battle here. So that's Tom getting the move done up the inside of Punji. And you've got to hand it to Tom and to all those drivers who've been affected over the course of incidents and other things here today at the start. Really, that's the only big flashpoint that we've seen over the course of this race. But it's one of these things where, you know, they could have thrown in the towel. They could have said enough's enough. We've got so much damage. We're never going to be able to do well. But Tom's sticking in there, so he's going to hopefully get some points for him in that stage. So that guy Vince in the pit lane, rolling down that pit lane now on a fresh set of medium tyres. So they clearly don't think or feel that those softs can go right the way to the end. So there we go then.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Radio for Rasin Chai. We will keep chasing after them, he says. So he's certainly caught up a great deal whilst those two in front have been battling, or rather, whilst they were battling. The gap is about the same as it was to Yorit at this stage, about 4.5 seconds back. But the gap to MSkyZ has now drastically come down. SkyZ is now 2.6 seconds adrift of Yorit and is 2.3 seconds ahead of Rasin Chai. So that is the state of play at the moment in that top fight, but Yorit is pushing on hard. He is really trying to get himself as best a result as he possibly can here today, and that, of course, includes the win. The win is very much on his mind here today. 6.2 seconds off of that race lead now from Meraki, so he is just catching time all the time. And it's been really, really good. Break a Leg TLX asks, where's Ben Daly? He's actually quit content creation. He's gone to the North Pole to go and live with the Inuits for a little while, to learn their ways and how, of course, he can end up going fishing without need of a fishing rod.
Ready for Christmas.
Ready for Christmas indeed. Absolutely. So there we are then. Michi Hoyer is currently on your screen with Safso tucked in behind. Jess, what can you tell us about this?
Michi Hoyer is probably not under pressure now as Dirk's gone into the pits again.
Interesting. Fresh set of tyres to the end for Dirk. Does he think that that is going to be a way of being able to maximise his result today? Well, he must think that, otherwise he wouldn't have done it. Or is there maybe some damage? We'll have to wait and see for any news that may come out as a result of that. But there we are then. That is that. So, Rasin on your screen at the moment, 1.2 seconds off the back of SkyZ at this stage. So these soft tyres clearly doing a very good job. as far as what is going on here. Daniel, you actually put almost everything what Ben would do or actually not. Yes. I guess, I suppose. Sure, whatever you just said. So it's then we can see very interesting overtaking method here from Chesnoy Gaming. It looks a bit more like a mating ritual as they sort of crab their way past the car of Mr. Dale. And so as they make that move done, then will Dale be able to respond and get the move back on them on the exit of the chicane? Looks like it may happen here. He's gone to the inside, certainly. Mr. Dale going for a move. It could be fireworks, but instead, no, it's just a gained position for the Alfa Romeo driver up to P10. Great bit of racing there that we're seeing from them at this stage.
Jake is in the pits. Jake is in the pit lane. So he was on those medium tyres. He's going on to another set of the mediums to the end of the race. So he thinks that the mediums will be the best tyres, whereas Yora and Raz and Child think softs. Or maybe Yora and Raz will think there could be a late safety car, as we're starting to see Razin closing in on Skyzy for P2. Skyzy getting rid of a squirm there through the turn 6. But we'll see if Razin Chai will have the battery needed to get past Skyzy. He's got plenty of battery as he goes up Mistral straight through turn 7, heading towards turn 8 now on the exit. And Razin Chai's up into P2. So at the moment, your order, you're at Van Geffen in first, Razin Chai in second, Skyzy in third. But which tyres will benefit currently? We'll have to wait and see.
So
we've got
here
a
we go.
replay of the spin from Mitchie. So, he was trying to catch up a spin earlier on, it seems, from turn number 1, or maybe. So was it behind? It's hard to tell from his lovely camera angle.
Yeah, that was one of those things where it's it's something we saw earlier on in the race. There was a battle we were focusing on just a bit further up the road, and then all of a sudden we saw a McLaren skirting its way across towards the wall. It's a very interesting sort of thing when you end up losing the car in that sort of a way. And then if you are able to rescue it, then of course, major trouser trouble, I think. Emphatic on the soft tyres, he is able to get himself up into P10 now at this stage. He's going to be pushing on to the end of this race on those. Has Racing won a race and Creator Series yet? Yes, he certainly has. And could do again today. Yes, won quite a few. So there we go. It's a race that is proving to be a bit more of a slower one, shall we say, as we get further and further into it. We've got some battles which could end up culminating at the end of the race here, but for Safso, it's one where, sadly, it might be a race to forget. They're onto a set of medium tyres now, which will definitely get them to the end. The medium tyres have proven that level of longevity earlier on in the race, so when it comes to what we're seeing here then with Meraki, well, they are definitely going to get this move done on Perya in the not-too-distant future, you would imagine, because out of the corner they come then, DRS is open, and even before we get even thinking about the braking zone, he pulls over to the racing line once again, and then DRS slams shut. He gets that Williams car up into P6. So this is now enough for him in order to take away the championship lead from Mr. Benjamin Daly, who is, of course, not here this week for all of the various aforementioned reasons that I've given. But there we go then. Back to the midfield we go now then, and to the lower end of the points, we've got Mr. Dale fighting with Tom and B-Roy as well. And so as they go on through there, we've got then this view of the penalty. So Tom right now, 10 seconds. That's the 10 seconds from the collision with Payer at the beginning of the race. You've then got Infratic, you've got B-Roy, you've got Mr. Dale. As B-Roy tries round the outside of Mr. Dale there. It's a dangerous move to try, not because of who is trying it on, but just the nature of the track and where they were overtaking. But they managed to get it done anyway. So all the credit to B-Roy in the world there. That's all that youth energy that they radiate out. Something that us old people could never dream of doing ever again. But there we are then. That's more for him than for you, really, chat, if I'm being honest with you. But as it is, we've got B-Roy then up into P11. You've got then, oh, goodness, all of a sudden people jumping down. That's only because Mr. Dale goes into the pits in the short pit lane entry that we have around here. So into the pits then, interesting thing here, where we're now starting to see drivers towards the end of the race actually opting for an additional stop, trying to get themselves an extra bit of grip towards the end of the race. They've seen how powerful the undercut can be and how much extra pace you can have with the track evolution, with everything else that we've been seeing. So it's something they're wanting to take advantage of, and this is one driver taking advantage of it right now, and that's Meraki. Meraki. They have gotten themselves up now into P5. Even more points on their charge up towards the championship lead. And so as it is right now then, Chesnoid Radio, you can see there, the longer I stay out, the less time I can claw back, they say. So that's the logic for them coming back into the pits so early. But we'll have to wait and see whether or not it ends up paying dividends for them. As it is right now, and we can see the driver on screen at the moment, Meraki, is catching on Nogueira in front, though not quite as quickly as they would like, you have to say. I say all that, and then as soon as they get to a braking zone, big amount of time gained. So there we go, I'm talking a load of rubbish, clearly. Back to the battle then of the Bulls, and here you can see we've got in P10, it is, it's that guy Vince, and just behind them, I was about to say it's Dirk Chocolate, it's still Dirk Chocolate for the moment, but they are under serious threat right now from B-Roy. B-Roy is trying their absolute damnedest to get past them. It's not working out for them just yet, but in all that, there's also Matty D, who is trying their absolute best. There is a difference in tyre offset, though. You can see here, you can see it briefly at least until it was taken away cruelly by our director. There we go then, I've ripped them and they've brought it back up onto the screen. So it's 3-lap-old tyres for Dirk, 4-lap-old for that guy Vince, and so with B-Roy you can see there then that they have got the much older tyres. They are falling down the order. It's about the same difference in lap life as year life between me and B-Roy. But there we go. So it's one of these things then where Dirk is going to try their absolute best now to get on after their teammate. You have to say, even though Vince has recovered in a fantastic way, I would actually say the better of the two Bull drivers has been Dirk over the course of this race. It's been a fantastic bit of racing from him, in fact, as things are. Adam Sanderson gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He's been collecting those all day. If he's not the most penalised driver by the end of the race, then someone's not done their job properly. Him, more specifically. But there we go then. So we've got Peya driving along then in P7, driving home for Christmas, it might be. And they're going to certainly hope for a good gift to bring back to the family in France, because they're going to want a good result here in their home nation. It didn't get off to the best start in the world, but they're going to be able to, of course, bring home the whatever it is the French eat. Not bacon. Maybe it is bacon. I don't know. But there we are then. They're going to bring home something, hopefully with a good result, ahead of Hayden Gullis. So onto the screen now comes replay, where we've got Chesnoid then, trying their absolute best in this fight. You can see here up ahead, there's all these 3 cars all in a close fought melee with each other. He's then thinking about how he can take advantage of all of this. They come through the next few corners here, and now then DRS open for the AlphaTauri driver. And that's all we saw, apparently. There we go. That's that. It's just a bit of driving there, but that's not a bad thing necessarily. What could be a bad thing though is collision between teammates, because Dirk Chocolate is having to rescind the place now to that guy Vince. He's gotten the move done on Vince at some point around the lap. Vince has gotten it back done on him now as they go chasing after Infratic. Infratic has the time penalties. He's got the track position for the time being, but of course when he starts being this slow obstacle in front of those cars with the much fresher tyres on underneath them, well, this is then the big problem he's going to have to face. He's going to have to now face up to the fact that you've got these drivers close in behind. They're going to have DRS. He might be losing multiple positions down this back straight, and I think for those on the soft tyre, this is then the indictment here. This is the problem, is that Racing and Yorit are at the head of the field now. You can see there, well, let's keep with this action though whilst I talk about that. Through onto the start, the back straight we go, then into the chicane, and it's not 2, but maybe even 3 positions being lost here by Infratic. No, Dirk Chocolate is into 9th place. He's now just 1 place behind that guy Vince. There's now only a 0.2 of a second gap between them. You've seen here that Doug has been able to get a good exit out of this corner, be able to get the car alongside and go for a move into the right-hander, but it's not ended up happening this time. So as it is then, Dirk is close in behind. Will he go for the dive? He certainly thinks about it. He looks to the inside, but he doesn't get the move made this time. And that then is a moment to breathe. But yes, just going back to the point, when it comes to those on the soft tyre, I think that those on the softs are actually having a little bit of a problem here, trying to keep those tyres alive right to the end of the race here, because MSkyZ has not been dropped by those guys at the front. He is still right there with them, 3.4 seconds away from the back of Racing Chai, who's 1.7 away from Yorit. And if this trend continues, then it's going to be one of these things where by the end of the race, those hards will be in a much better condition than the softs. And I suspect if I was going to have to put my money down now on lap 40 of 53, I'm going to say that MSkyZ is going to win this Grand Prix.
That is an interesting statement. I wonder what everyone in the YouTube or the Twitch chat will think of that. Who do you think is going to win this race? I think Skyzy's got a very good shout, because we saw with Meraki's soft tyres that he start to go off very, very quickly, and he had to pit early for medium tyres. So we'll see how your and Razin fare later on as well, but maybe they'll be saving a bit of tyre wear now and then pushing it towards the end, and maybe they're prove our theory wrong currently. So yeah, I think Meraki's good. Meraki probably is not going to be able to catch up to Skyzy, but Skyzy is having the best opportunity to be able to win this race. We saw Vince being able to take his tyres an extortionate amount of time, so I think Skyzy could do it exactly the same. But meanwhile, we got the battle of the bulls, it looks like, once again.
Did you say bulls or something else?
No, the Red Bulls. Sorry.
I was going to say I thought there was a different vowel in that letter, in that word, but there we go. But yes, there we are. And it is that guy Vince and Dirk Chocolate continued to scrap and fight with one another. Dirk up into 8th place, having gotten the move done on Vince on the previous lap, or on this lap, I should say. But now as they come through the final turn, then it's going to be, I suspect, another swap of the positions for the Bulls, but they are far enough ahead, I would say, of Tom at this stage to not really be under major threat from him. Yorit now on the radio saying Skyzy may come back. I think that's exactly what's going to happen here, you know. But Skyzy has actually lost a huge amount of time. I think he must have made a mistake somewhere because he's now 5.2 seconds away as we see the move be done there by that guy Vince to get back ahead of Dirk Chocolate. That being said, though, Dirk is coming hard and fast here, and now into the next few corners he goes then, and he's not actually going for the dive up the inside. He instead elects to stay in behind for the time being. If he's able to follow nice and closely through these couple of corners, then there'll be as little a distance as possible he needs to make up to then get the move done down the straight, which means you'll get the maximum benefit of the DRS here, and then we'll end up going into the next part of the lap trying to build up that gap as large as possible. As it is then, he makes the move, he gets on past his teammate, and now then he goes into the chicane. He's now just 0.3 of a second ahead. Will that then rise as they come out of the exit of the corner, or will it start to go back in the direction of that guy Vince? As it is right now, it's not something that Vince has got in his repertoire. That being said, there's a mistake there from Dirk, and he almost was under threat of a potential fight back from his teammate there. Big slide as he went through the right-hander. I think a little bit too much curb, and he's done it again as well. There are cars in behind, but as you can see on the timing tower, they have got some time penalties, so they are not going to be ones where you'll need to be too worried about them getting past you if you are either the Red Bulls. It is entirely a fight between the Bulls at this stage. And, it's like what they say, if you have two bulls together in a china shop, then they make sweet love. You weren't expecting that, were you, chat? There we go. Neither was our director, apparently, as it is. But there we go. So can we see the tyres, please, says Badgerman. I will relay that to our producer, and he's done exactly that. So there we go, then. So we've got the tyres up on screen at the moment, then. So you've got a varying set of strategies at this point in time. Badger, if you were the strategist for either of the front two cars, and there's the 3 second.
Vince,
back to the question for Badger in a second. Vince gets the 3 second time penalty. That then means that he is now automatically in behind his teammate. Dirk will be grinning ear to ear with that, I would imagine. And in fact, why don't we go for a picture-in-picture here to see him as his face comes up when he ends up getting that move done. I'll tell you what, we won't do it whilst the move is happening. And there we go. Now we'll jump across to him, and let's see. That is the face of a happy man who knows that he's on the way to getting some points and putting to bed the Dirk to Alpha Tauri meme by the end of this race. Or certainly, that's what he's going to hope. We'll wait and see. Badgerman saying he may have had a hand in Yorit's strat. So, ooh, interesting. Interesting then. So our assumption here, Badger, was that those softs might die before the end of the race, and then Skyzy could end up coming back and getting the move done on them. But if you've had a hand in the strategy, then, well, I think it might be a good strategy then, as it turns out. It might be something that they'll be able to do. Bit of oversteer there for Dirk as he comes out the exit of the corner. And then as they go into the left-hander then, it's one of these things where they're going to need to try and protect their position as much as they possibly can. Although there is the team game to think about. Do they now cease fighting the Red Bulls and just allow Dirk to get as far ahead as he possibly can and try and get some points? There are 11 seconds to catch, 10 laps in order to do it. Or is it going to be just a battle of pride? And I suspect it's going to be more the latter, to see who finishes on track first. And then, of course, the other thing as well, we don't know how many warnings Dirk has got at this stage. He could be maybe just the one warning away from getting a penalty himself. So there we are then. We'll have to wait and see. The softs are decently durable, says Badgerman.
He's on one warning, Dirk is.
One warning. We go. There we go. So a quick look into the race director there. So there we are. And we wish you well, of course, Badger. We hope that you are feeling better soon, sir. As it is then, on to the back straight we go then. Swap positions once again between the Red Bull drivers, with Vince getting back ahead of Dirk, but Dirk under no threat at the moment from any of the drivers around them. Brief set of yellow flags there. Interesting what
I
that may
think
have
that
been
was
for.
Adam being lapped.
Oh
I might be
dear.
wrong.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, it would make sense. He is now currently a good amount of time back, and Skyzy gets a time penalty. Oh, merde, he'll be thinking to himself as he goes down the start-finish straight. It's fine, I can say it because it's in another language. But yes, that's not the situation he will have wanted for him.
Watershed in France.
A watershed in France has been passed at this time, exactly. I can now say, in France, j'ai un tour Eiffel dans mon pantalon. You can Google what that means. I'm not going to say it in English. But there we are then. It's one of these things when, as they go down the back straight, this is now very much then a scrap between Racing and Yorit. Now, there is a couple of laps worth of delta between their tyres in Racin's favour here. So that might be the thing that gives him the edge come the end of the race. But at this point in time, it looks as though they are still just either in a stage of management or just the times are so similar when they're pushing that they're not able to get within DRS just yet. Racing has been closing in though, but it has sort of plateaued at this stage. So there we are then. Dirk Chocolate is tucked in behind his teammates, that guy Vince. And as they come out onto the back straight then, it looks like Dirk might be under some threat from Matty D behind, but of course 6 seconds worth of time penalties if Matty does get the move done. And D. Summers pointing out that EA are going to remove their sponsorship from this stream due to my poor French accent. I'll tell you, I think that my French accent is absolutely perfect myself, but it's such a shame. Is well, if you need to go then, honestly. You don't need to announce it to the whole stream. But there we are then. We've got... I did have that lined up, says the producer there. But there we go then. So we've got Matty D then still tucked in behind Dirk. He's got front row seats to the battle between the Red Bull drivers. But here we go then. Radio from Sky Z. Oh no! I imagine is how it was said. But there we go then. Can we get Dan and Jess to do real-world F1 commentating, please? Well, I mean, I'll get to do that at a few races next year, but sadly I can't bring a +1, and I think it'd be frowned upon if I were to hide her in my suitcase. So there we go then. Down the start-finish straight we go then, and Dirk moves to the inside, trying to defend as best they can from Matty D, but Matty has the run, and he gets the move done. Now, of course, Matty is going to try pushing on, trying to get that move done on Vince as well, putting that Aston Martin ahead of the Red Bull, and this could potentially spell fireworks. And Chris is saying that I suck at French accents. Well, clearly you've never heard a French person before, have you, sir? But there we are then. It's my job as a British person to butcher the French accent anyway. We are, of course, it's entirely down to, what is going to make the French as upset as humanly possible. That, of course, since 2016 has been British foreign policy. Try and upset our European neighbours as much as humanly possible. Matty gets the move done on that guy Vince and moves his Aston Martin back up to the head of this little train. He does have 6 seconds worth of time penalties, rather, and that does mean that he's not in the best position relative to those around him. Certainly for Vince behind, he has got 3 seconds worth of time penalty, and Dirk, of course, has no time penalties whatsoever. But Dirk does have, I believe, the oldest tyres of everybody around him here, and that then means that to the inside goes the Alpine of Tom. Tom is now trying their absolute best here to get this car up alongside and past, and so as they go into the left-hander then, Tom is going to be held out wide, and that is going to prevent him driving up and past Dirk at this stage. Might even open the door now to Safso. It does open the door to Safso. Safso gets himself up and past of Tom. Tom, of course, would have lost the position anyway at the end of the race due to time penalties, but on track it means now that Safso is fighting another car with no time penalties. Someone who does have time penalties is Adam Sanderson. He's got 27 seconds worth of time penalties. I believe the next time he gets a time penalty, that's him disqualified from the red. Oh dear, and Tom hits the back end of the Matty D of Safso there, of all the Aston Martins. They're all on the track at the same time, and it's all going on at the moment here. My brain is just failing to process everything that's going on at the same time. But at this stage then, Safso versus Dirk Chocolate, this is for position. This is something that could end up affecting the outcome of the race in the end. But as it is right now, the gap between Dirk and then Matty D and Guy Vince in front is such that they will end up losing those positions to Dirk later on. But it's going to be Dirk losing a position now because Safso takes the place with the DRS, gets into the chicane, and he's now going to chase on after the cars in front then. So, ooh la la, we're waiting for a replay to come of Tom rear-ending Saf, and I'm sure that Saf any other time would have appreciated it, but maybe not in the midst of battle. So there we are then.
Yes.
I assume comms are aware of no game sound. I've no idea with that. We're not doing all of that sort of thing today.
So we don't know.
We're not doing direction at all, exactly. Jess, make engine noises in the background is what Badger's saying. So there you are, Jess, get to it. There's your instructions.
Oh, God.
So there we go. So we've got the replay ready. 3, 2, 1 until that comes onto the screen. And so we will see now then, this is the move of Tom. So a little bit of back-end exploration here. I'm sure that is a good thing when consenting adults are involved. Oh, he missed him. No, he flirted with the back end of somebody else, of Safso. But then he got a bit close and he must have thought to himself, no, do you know what? Actually, that booty looked better a little bit further away. So there we are then. Into the first corner he goes. He's only just missed him.
So that's why Safso was able to get past Dirt Chocolate quite comfortably as well. And bearing in mind, Safso had damage at the start of the race as well. We saw on the replay of it, and he's up to get a decent point, and he's got no penalties either, and he's looked like he's going to chase down his teammate for 9th then. So let's see if we can go on board with him, as Safso's going to try and get past not one car but 2 cars. He's passed his teammate and he's passed that guy Fitz up into 8th spot, and we got a battle for the lead. Razin Chai versus Yorit for the race lead. We thought that the Sauce weren't going to make it, but Badger has proved us all wrong, and they're definitely the class of the field here today. This is the Haas driver versus the McLaren driver. Who has the guts to come out on top? Razin has the advantage because he has 2-lap newer tyres compared to Yorit. So is that going to work in his favour? Well, Razin has hardly got any battery, whereas Yorit has, so maybe Yorit could use that to defend, but we do know how powerful the tow is heading towards Michelle Straight in towards turn 7 and 8. So we'll see what they could do, as Badgerman has just made some engine noise in the chat. Thank you, Badger. And hopefully we can attempt to get the sound back according to the producer. So hopefully if you could let us know soon if they can hear. But if not, we will try our best to make engine noises in the chat. No, I don't think I'll make the best engine sounds. Leave that with the professionals currently. But right now, it's Yorit Van Geffen in P1, Razin Chai in P2. Skyzy at the moment still going to be getting a podium, but I think he's got 3. Yeah, he's got 3 seconds of penalties. So Muraki needs to get in about 4 attempts in order to getting within the penalty range, which is going to be quite difficult indeed. So let us know if you can hear the game sound. Please chat. That'll be lovely.
So there we are then. We've got, apparently we've got a small issue where the sound is not coming from the game, despite the fact that all the settings are up, so apologies for that, everybody. Just some things that happen sometimes. So, Razin Chai then has the DRS. He is chasing on down after Yorit Jan van Heffen, and let's now wait and see whether or not we get a change for the lead. No, instead he tucks in behind for the time being. There's tyre smoke, though, as the pair of them go into turn 1, braking as late as humanly possible. No game sounds were being told from the chat, so that's a great big shame there. But, you know, what can you expect? So when it comes to this, then, we've got through the next few corners we go. And Razin then is close on the back. He is really, really hustling that car now, trying to get it onto the back of Yorit Jan van Heffen. And so away we go then. Badger is causing enough hullabaloo. He's off for dinner and will be lurking. So thank you very much for coming in and having a chat to us, Badger. It's something that we absolutely love to see you here, and we hope that you're doing better soon as well, of course. So down the back straight we go then. We've got the worst camera angle in the world. Before then, they come into that chicane. The producer is apologising. I know there's nothing he can do as far as the camera angle is concerned, so it's not a dig at him. But Razin then is chasing on hard after Yorit Jan van Heffen at this stage. Now, the interesting thing here will be the difference in ERS levels, difference in tyres, difference in things like that. We know that there's a couple of laps worth of advantage in the tyres for Razin, but he's of course been in the dirty air more often. So it's something which is going on there. We're also being told in the background here in our behind the scenes team that the audio is not working for multiple streams involved in this race. So again, it's just one of these things that can happen sometimes. It is not just us, but there we go then. That guy Vince is now up to P8, and sadly for his teammate, he is dropping a bit further down the order. He's got much older tyres, of course, relative to those around them. So whilst he's got no whilst he's got no things there, it's one of these things where he will be able to get himself... Oh, and look at this. We've changed to the camera here with all this that's going on, and it's a bigger battle than I thought was happening. You can see now up the inside goes Safso, gets the move done, manages to keep that Aston Martin ahead of the likes of Michi Hoyer and Matty D, and then we've got that guy Vince up in front as well. That is a position all for Safso's own at this stage, but back to the lead we go then. So we're going to go now to this fight between Racing Chai and Jorrit Jan van Heffen. We're lap 50 of 53 in this race here. Just a few laps to go. Will DRS be making an appearance here for Racing Chai, or will he just stick in behind for the time being?
DRS.
He's in really the controlling seat at this stage here. He could elect to go for the move. It looks like he's not doing so. He's not got DRS open. He's just staying in behind. I think he's waiting until that crucial final lap before he then ends up pulling the trigger and going for the move on Jorrit here. I think that is the plan, but he's of course got to make sure he's got those rear tyres in enough of a good condition to then be able to stay ahead on those crucial parts of the track where it could be a counterattack from Jorrit at the end of the race. Jorrit, I'm sure, will be saving up battery at this stage as well in order to try and defend as best they can. Yellow flags in Sector 1 here as we've got one of the Alpha Tauris not moving. I think that is Chesnoid Gaming down in P17 at the moment, and yes, they've just come back onto the circuit, breaking a polystyrene sign as they do so, and that then is a horrible, horrible thing for them to have a race fall apart like it has done there. Looks like there was a big fight there, and in the lead then, it's a fight! We've got a fight at the head of the Grand Prix. Out to the final corner they come then, and Racing Chai is alongside with Jorrit Jan van Heffen. We're migrating host! No, don't migrate host, as Hayden Gullis has left the session. So Hayden has left the session, we've lost our host, we're migrating host. Hopefully we've got no problems between now and the end of the race. We're on lap 51 of 53 here. We've got only 2 laps to go. It's a battle for the lead here, and Racing has managed to get the lead on Jorrit Jan van Heffen at this stage, but as they then start to go through the next few corners, you can see then now that it's going to be Jorrit in the driving seat as far as the DRS is concerned. They're going to have the DRS now. They're going to be able to now push on and try and get that place back. But the question is going to remain then whether Racing then tries to use ERS to stay ahead. But it looks like at this stage, Jorrit is not using the DRS. He's not getting within that life there. You can see an enormous amount of battery on the steering wheel as well for Jorrit. About a half the battery's capacity he's been able to regenerate over all this time. It's close between him and Racing at this stage. You'd have to say that whoever has the DRS would be then the one with the advantage here, because they'll be able to both deploy down that entire straight. So as it is then, Hayden has rejoined the session. Hopefully we've got no problems between now and the end. And as it is then, 51 laps have almost been run around this circuit, Paul Ricard. And as we go through the next few corners then, Nogueira is under big threat now from Dirk Chocolate. Dirk has the DRS. He's got that place now on the run down towards the chicane. And as they then pull out there, pull back in front of the Ferrari, it's a 5-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags for Adam Sanderson. That puts him over 30 seconds worth of time penalties. Does that then mean he's disqualified? Well, if it does, it's not happened just yet for him. So we'll wait and see. Maybe he's had a stay of execution.
I wonder if it takes penalties based on track limits rather than blue flags. I think he's still got, he still has another 3 seconds left in him yet. Or it might be more in a 100% race. I know it's 30 seconds for 50%, but 100% I don't know. But yeah.
So there we are then. We've got Adam having a stay of execution at the back of the field there. Alfa Romeo having a day to forget, I think it is, here today. Back to the fight at the front of the field, though, and you can see that Racing has been able to pull out a decent enough gap here, actually, on the car behind of Jorrit. Jorrit has started to close back in again, but he's not making use of DRS, interestingly enough, so he's only been able to gain about a tenth or two of a second there as they head down into the braking zone. He's went a little bit deep there as well, into the corner. I think that Jorrit here... Oh, and Adam has on another 3-second time penalty. Is this a disqualification for him? No, not this time. He's still racing. Come on, Adam, make it to the end. Don't be disqualified on the last lap. That would be a horrible thing to see. But as it is then, we've got Racing at the head of the field. He is on lap 52 of 53 in this race. This is so close between all of these drivers up and down the field. You can see so many battles going on, but this is the one we want to focus on. This one is coming down to the last lap. And we can see now then as they go through the final sector of the lap then. Racing is going to try and hold off as best they can down the start-finish straight. But this is where Yorit is now taking some liberties with the car. He's trying to now pull in as much time as he possibly can, but he loses a bit through that final turn there. Loses about a tenth and a half of a second. This is then where he needs to get DRS open again to be able to close back in on the car in front, but he's not doing it. He's instead got a good amount of ERS available to him, so he's going to be able to use that. He's then locked his tyres slightly headed into that first corner. No such locking dramas for Racing Chai. And now then, as they get down towards that final DRS straight, let's wait and see then whether Yorit, on his return to the series, is able to make the move for the lead, or whether it is Racing taking home more silverware for the Papaya team in Woking as retired from the session, Adam Sanderson. And he's done it in the pit lane. He's given up. He's not going to take the checkered flag. That will be no safety car. But now, as we watch this fight up the front of the field here, there is contact elsewhere. But we do want to keep on watching what happens here as Yorit is closing. But will he close in entirely? No, he won't. No. It's the final lap of the Grand Prix. He's not making use of his DRS system. So maybe that system is not in operation right now. Round the outside goes that guy Vince. Brilliant move round the outside of Hayden Gullis there. We caught it just at the last possible moment.
Join the session.
And there we go then. Michi Hoyer's gone through too. Hayden had to rejoin the session, of course, as we saw earlier on. But as it is now then, going through the last few sections of the circuit, into that third sector we go. It's incredibly close. And Yorit does have the ERS being deployed and burned at this point in time. But you can see on the back of the car in front that it's being done for Racing as well. The pair of them are going to go up through the last few corners now then. Through this corner. Then we've got just 2 to go. Through the penultimate turn then. And Racing Chai has been able to hold off for the time being. What will it be like as they come across the start-finish line? For some reason it says the checkered flag has already been waved for them. They've not got anywhere near the line yet. What is happening? Yorit's in front, according to our screen, but that shouldn't be the case.
That is weird.
I have... we've probably had some sort of a desync of some description, and that's why. But as it is, then, an anticlimactic end to the race then for us here, as Racing Chai comes home P2, as it is there, despite the fact you can clearly see that the car is ahead.
I think Racing will probably, take the win there.
Yeah,
this is
I've
a massive
no
desync.
idea,
There's
to be honest with you.
Up all over the show.
No idea what's going on there, but we can only call it as best as we possibly can. Keep an eye on our socials, keep an eye on the hashtag F1 Creator Series, and that will then keep you all clued in as to what on earth ends up happening as the end result of this one. But there we go then. So it is, according to our timing tower, Yorit taking a win on return, then Racing, then Meraki finishing out the podium. Then it is M Sky Z, Peya making a Mercedes 4.5, which after the races they've had is about as good damage limitation as they could do. Then Safso with a great commanding drive back up through the field, and then we'll get the rest of the results later on there. So, yeah. There we go. That was something to finish out what otherwise was a very, very exciting and very entertaining race, but sadly that's the way that it goes sometimes. So driver of the day, according to the game, is that guy Vince. Let us know in chat who you think was your driver of the day here today. So then we're going to get a rundown with the standings in a moment or two's time. And we've got requests of a 5-lapper race as a way of being able to get around the glitch. I'm not sure that the drivers who would stand the most to lose there would agree with you, but you never know. Maybe they will. I'm just going to move this way a little bit to draw my camera back in frame. There we go. But there we are then. So that is your run order then. So Yorit, Racing, Meraki, M Sky, Peya, Safso, Nogueira. You've then got that guy Vince. You've got Dirk Chocolate, Michi Hoyer, Hayden Gullis, Danes, also known as Matty D around here. Then Tom, then Infratic, Chesnoy Gaming, Punju, yours sincerely, B-Roy, Mr. Dale, and then Adam Sanderson, our one and only retirement of the race. They will count as having finished and be classified because they finished over 90%, but they decided to throw in the towel right at the end there after 35 seconds worth of penalties. It's not a sentence I get to say very often, really, that quantity of penalties there. Hayden also stolen from a great result, says Akaz. Yeah, I would agree with you there. But yeah, sometimes these things happen, sadly. So there we go. That is that. So we will, of course, get some drivers in for an interview in the not too distant future. We will try and figure out what on earth happened there. According to the drivers themselves, they say that Yorit was the winner there, then Rasin, then Meraki. So like as you see in the timing tower, just not what we saw on track, sadly. Does make sense, given that we saw drivers fighting with each other with not any use of DRS in the last couple of laps there, Jess.
Yeah, so probably we saw Rath in the lead, but they saw Yorit in the lead. So probably it was pretty much issue our end, unfortunately. But it is what it is. At least the results that they could see were the ones that were shown on the screen. So that is good news. So let's work our end.
Absolutely, yeah. So we will be ready to get an interview started now. I think we'll be able to pull in the man, the myth, the legend. And he's not on screen at the moment. We've got Harry on screen. We love Harry very dearly, but we want to see the driver on screen at the moment. So that is them. There they are. It's Mr. Jorrit-Jan van Heffen with a race win here in the Creator Series once again.
Oh, yes.
Oh, talk us through that one.
I can't believe it. Who would have thought today? You know, I got asked to reserve yesterday evening, and France is definitely not one of my best tracks. And
Liar.
I think France disagrees with you.
I took a little bit of time to get used to it and really take into account the data and the setup for the race, basically. And it was of utter importance that. That I would nail everything, and from start to finish I had to focus so incredibly much because especially during the part where Resin was chasing me, it was 1.5, 1.4, 1.3, 1.1, and then it got back up again, and monitoring the battery. So I'd say this race was a race of the battery management, because that was incredibly important for this one.
Very important indeed. Very, very important. Talk us through the strategy decision, because of course you started on the mediums, and so a lot of us were thinking, you'll go to hards then. And then you went to softs for about 20 laps.
So I was talking to the one and only legend Badgerman before this race.
Yes.
And well, I told him, listen, my friend, I need help. Talk me through. Give me the insights. And from the start of the race, it was my plan to go medium soft lap 29, and that is exactly what I did. I saw that it was a strategy to go to the hards as well, but I think that with the pace that I had, with the extra added safety car at the start, I think in terms of tire wear, it was definitely doable to go to the softs. I didn't expect Resin to pit later. But at the end of the day, it was an incredible battle, and that strategy, it was something I had in mind before the race already, and I stuck through it, and it worked out at the end.
It certainly did. It certainly did. And now that you've come back, you've won on your return. Is there any, is there any plans to maybe make a bit more of a full-time return?
I'd love to. If I get asked for a full-time seat, I'll make time free to be available on those days. I'd love to, because at the end of the day, racing 100% races is what I do so dearly love to do. So yeah, I'd love to, and what I'd love to do even more is have another Monaco 100% racing time.
That would be, I'm sure, good fun for you, but as a commentator, I can think of nothing worse. But there we are. Thank you very much, Jorrit. Any questions, Jess, for Jorrit from you?
Well, I'd just like to say massive congratulations to you on your victory as well. I can't remember what's the do you know, Dan, the final 2 rounds coming up?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I can find it at some stage. You crack on and you ask another question. It's a mystery Grand Prix and Belgium. There you go.
Oh yeah, mystery Grand Prix and Belgium. Any high hopes for any of those last 2 tracks if you get roped into race next week?
Well, Mystery GP, I think that's something that would be quite tough for me because I'm not as I don't have as much experience on the game this year as the others. I've been very busy with other things, so I don't have much hours on the game. So that would be definitely a weak spot for me, unless it's a really good track for me. And Belgium, yeah, it's a track I'm decent at. I feel like Belgium is a track where you really have to think a lot, just like France due to the incredibly long straight. So yeah, if I get asked up, I'll happily join if I'm available, and who knows.
Yeah, that's my question. That's a perfect excuse for the Mystery GP. If the creator series of people want to race to get your lovely setups from Sim Racing Centre.
Absolutely.
And they're very
That's
good,
the
by
benefit
the
of
way.
it. You have them ready.
Excellent. Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us then, Yorick. Congratulations on your race victory, and we will see you again shortly. But someone that we have seen many times this season, and we see again on our screens in just a moment's time, is, of course, Racing Chai. Racing, on our screen at least, you did win the race. You were the car in the lead, so I'm going to say you have at least a moral victory.
I mean, yeah, I've only found out afterwards apparently there was a issue, but I think it was because Hayden was the host and he disconnected, so it may have unfortunately caused some issues. But yeah, it was a good battle to the end. Yora obviously got me in the end. It was a tight battle to the end. I went 2 laps longer than his stint to get the fresher tires at the end. It came back to me at the end and managed to get in DRS. The plan was going into the last lap to drop everything a battery, go for it. Unfortunately, on the exit to the main straight, I got a bit of a slip. Then I had to go for the move on the second straight, and he parked in the middle perfectly, and there was no way I could go. So GG to Yora, he had a great race, great way to see him back on the top. Unfortunately, though, we keep having the reserves winning, so we have to get around this issue.
We will. I mean, thinking about that, we've just looked up. In fact, no, we didn't just look up because we obviously knew this. We definitely didn't need to look it up on stream. But we've got the Mystery GP and Belgium as the last 2 races of the season. Putting Mystery GP to one side, because of course you don't know what that will be. What are your thoughts vis-a-vis Belgium? Is that a circuit you think is going to suit you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Last season, when we did Belgium in season 3 Creator Series, I would say I was comfortably the fastest on track. I remember, I think Alex Gillen was racing that week, like so Ben, etc. And I managed to pull basically a 6-second gap on Alex after a safety car stint. It'll be interesting going back there. I just need to avoid getting penalties like last time. But yeah, I think Belgium's one of my strongest tracks, so it should be good. Mystery Grand Prix, you never know how it can go. There are some good tracks, there are some bad tracks, so we'll have to see.
Oh yes, there are. Oh yes, there are, my friend. Don't worry, I'm sure that whoever is in charge of the track selection will be very, very kind to all of you. Definitely nothing.
Not going to be any of us, I think. So I think both of us won't
I'm
be
being told in my ear that it's a spinning wheel, but I say I'm going to make the rules, and it will not be a spinning wheel. So just watch out for that. So there we are. Jess, Harry, any questions from either of you for Racing?
Well, you nicked the question I was going to ask, so I'll throw it to Harry.
Well, Raz and I have one question. How on earth are you that fast on a control? It's amazing, especially since France is, a track that involves quite a lot of long corners, good for wheels. Just doing it on a controller is so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Quite a few people in my chat were asking me as well, and I don't think I'm the fastest controller player out there, nowhere near. But once you just build up consistency on it and just learn what to do, it kind of just comes naturally. And yeah, it's a bit of an issue sometimes though, because for example today, my front tires were way more higher than yours, just because of the pad steering. But yeah, it does have its benefits though. Like, it is quite easy to adapt, and once you do get to nail it, you can be very honest. I mean, as you can see, you can be up there with the wheel players. So for anybody's on pads, just keep at it, you'll be fine.
Excellent. Good stuff. So there we are then. Well, thank you very much then, Racing. We will leave you to it. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will hopefully see you in a competitive place next time. So there we are then. That was Racing, and now we have our other driver on the podium. That is Maruki himself. Daddy Jake makes a return to the podium. And Jake, talk us through that one, because that was really, it was a race where it felt as though you suddenly disappeared and you weren't coming back.
Yeah, it was frustrating because going into the race, I didn't change my tire pressures, so my tires didn't get above. My tires weren't above 100 degrees that entire race, so it was like pretty much just driving on ice. So no matter how much I pushed, it was kind of curtains for me. And then I had my fuel. I was pretty much fuel saving for the last half of the race because we yeah, it wasn't ideal. So I think if I had like an extra lap of fuel in, if I put my pressures up a little bit going into the race, maybe. I don't know. It's one of those races where we've got lucky, where I'm a bit kind of annoyed, I guess, under fueling and the pressures and everything. But it's a podium. It is what it is. We need the championship. So.
Well, that's the other thing, of course. Crucially, you are now at the top of the standings in the Creator Series. How does that feel?
Good. It certainly doesn't feel bad. I think the thing that I've probably worked on this season the most is probably my consistency. Where like last season, I was either winning or I was getting P7, P8, P9. Like there was literally no in between. And now I haven't finished below 5th this whole season. So I think that's probably what's put me in that position. I've got a bit of consistency back, but it feels great. It feels good. I just got to keep it up and stop Ben from winning.
Absolutely. Well, the easiest way to stop someone else winning is by winning yourself. So
Exactly.
that's clearly the target for the last two races.
Everything crossed next weekend. Mr. GP, Singapore,
Mr. GP.
Jeddah.
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh yes.
it could
I've
be
got a
those.
question for that actually. What track would you want? What track would you want to see on the wheel?
I just want it to be Singapore, Jeddah, because
I
I
wouldn't mind
really enjoyed
Singapore.
those. Wait,
I like
Wait,
Singapore.
it could be Yeah, Singapore's great. Singapore's great, but I don't know. I really don't know. As long as it's not Baku, I'm happy. Like Baku or Austria, but I wouldn't mind Austria. But Baku, you can just
Back
delete,
again in the bin.
just delete it from the files, delete it from the game.
well, that's an interesting thing. I wonder if there was some sort of bloodthirsty dictator who was in charge of choosing the tracks next week, and they were more inclined to choose a particular circuit. Who knows?
Yeah, Ben might pay you off or something. He's been trying to pay everybody off this week, this race, to try and take me out. So yeah, so he stays in the lead. But...
I am a very cheap date, Ben. Just to let you know, just on a stream that everyone can see. I'm a very cheap date. I'm also incorruptible, so you can pay me as much as you like, and I'll still do whatever I have planned. So there we go. Yes, very, very good. So in terms of Mr. GP, then we know what the sort of the preferred tracks for you would be. Belgium. How are we feeling about Spa?
I like Belgium. It's not. I got my first race series win around Belgium. Yeah. Yeah. So what was that? But yeah.
He's like, hey.
Yeah, he got a little bit too excited. He's more excited than me.
I'm always more excited when you're on my screen, darling.
Oh.
That is absolutely beautiful. Make me feel some kind of way. But yeah, Spa, good. As long as we have, I don't know what tracks we can get for the Mr. GP, but as long as either Singapore, Jeddah, Spain, maybe Silverstone, then I'm happy. It could be a good end to the season. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the last few races. It'll be good. It'll be fun.
Excellent. Very good. Well, hopefully we'll get to see you and Ben in a good, proper scrap for the title at the end of the season. But between now and then, make sure you get some rest and don't go sweating on any tracks because it won't be any of them. Probably.
Well,
Maybe. Who knows?
Well, if I sweat every single one, then
This is true.
One every day. One
This
every
is
day of
true.
the week. It'll be fine.
You do know there's more than 7 tracks in the game, right? That's the...
Oh.
Well, I just won't practice Baku. Perfect.
Excellent. Very good. Right. Well then, thanks very much then, Jake, and we will leave you to it. And once again, congratulations on taking the lead in the championship as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
There we go. So, from one interview, we go to another, and this one's a little bit of a sad one, but it's one where I was hoping to say, And I'm going to have to apologise in advance for the pronunciation here. I was hoping to say Le jour glorieux est arrivé.
Le jour de gloire est arrivé.
There we go,
Yes,
that's the
but
one.
No.
But sadly not today, Skyzy. Talk us through that race. Well, I mean, we all saw the glitch down the back straight. Do you think that without that, it was your race here today?
Well, first of all that, and the second thing is that I had no sound. Like for the half of the race, I had no sound at all. Try everything I could to get sound back, but it was nothing. Like I had the sound in the menu, like the little click between each option, but otherwise in the race I had no sound. So I had to drive like 30 laps without sound. It was far from good.
Yes.
So I took multiple warnings with that. It was very, very hard to just see the gap with Meraki going down and down because I wanted to save at least the podium, and I failed to do it by 2/10. So yeah, the glitch with I don't know how to describe it, but as the strangest glitch I ever had on a game. It was so sudden. Thankfully, no one was behind me directly because otherwise it was collision. And Yorit and Razin could just go without me. It was at least good for that. So yeah, the 5-6 seconds lost to that, and then no sound. So I think this season has been a massive amount of bad luck for me. So it's fine. I guess I prefer take it to one season and then no bad luck at all next season if I'm still there. So yeah, otherwise the pace was there. I was quite happy with the pace on medium, quite happy with the pole, 3 pole in a row, but no win still. So yeah, I love Charles Leclerc, but I don't want to be like him with the pole win ratio. So yeah, the pace was there again, but massive amount of bad luck. At least you saw that, so everyone is aware of that.
Yes, yeah, don't worry.
And I will miss next rounds because I have a 24-hour race at Paul Ricard, the real track for charity.
Wow.
So yeah, I will miss it.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, what's the charity?
It's Teleton. I don't know if it's the same word in English, but that's the biggest like charity event in France, not gaming-wise, but like the full charity event in France. I think we had like maybe 10 millions of donation last year, and something like that. And this year we have to do something with the sim racing. So we are in the Paul Ricard next week, driving a 24-hour race for charity. So yeah, I will miss the Mystery GP again.
Amazing. Well, I mean, if there's any reason to bon chance, and I think that if there's any reason for you to miss a Creator Series race, that's a pretty good reason, really. So yeah, hope you do really well in that. Hope you get lots of donations as well. I hope that goes really, really well. I really, really do. And hopefully we'll see a bit less bad luck for you in that race and in future races in the Creator Series as well.
I really hope so, because I can't be asked anymore. Like, I don't know how many broken mirrors I broken, but that's a lot of damage.
Oh dear. Well, hopefully it gets better from now. That's when everything's going to get better. So thanks very much for joining us then, Skyzy.
Thanks, guys, and thanks to chat, and thanks everyone. I hope the race was good from your point of view.
It was good. We
Really
also lost audio. So
you lost it also?
Yeah, we did as well.
Lost audio as well. Quite a lot of drivers lost audio too. So it wasn't just you. It was a widespread thing.
Yeah.
All right.
So...
We love the game. We love the game. Anyway,
we certainly do. So there we go. So, last but certainly by no means least, a driver who is certainly amongst my picks of driver of the day, even if he didn't drive today, just because I like him that much. He looks like a rock star. It's Safso. Safso, how was that race for you?
That was very fun for the first time in a long while.
Yes.
Well, first half of the race, not so much, obviously. But second half of the race is very nice. Very nice. Because I think there was one point, I think it was around lap 40ish, went from P12 or 13 to P8 in the matter of like 4 or 5 laps, which was brilliant. And obviously the chaos and the tussle at the end Apologies again, already said it, but to Mitchie for, I think, giving him damage with what happened in the penultimate lap. But yeah, to bring back an entire pit stop's worth and then get back up higher than when I was, that was a really fun end to the race.
Good, excellent. And so in terms of that, then, in terms of going forward, do you think it gives you a good confidence boost heading into these last 2 races?
Potentially. Might try some new tactics as to preparation for Mystery Grand Prix. Or maybe not Mystery Grand Prix, mostly for Belgium, I guess, next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely having that kind of pace at a track which I regard to be probably one of my worst. Like, that's usually top 3 worst tracks in the game. And to be doing a fastest lap nearly every time after a pit stop, means maybe my preference on tracks has switched without me knowing this season. So maybe
you've just matured with age.
I've gotten worse at Monza. I like Monza. If maturing means getting bad at Monza, I'm not sure I want it. But we'll see. It's very much down to just how it is on the day. You sleep beforehand, how's your preparation. So too early to say what the momentum will be like, but hopefully more like today.
Hopefully. I certainly hope so. Jess, any questions from you or from Harry at all for Saf?
I'm trying to think of one actually. What are your ultimate championship hopes going into the rest of the season? What will be your dream? What will be your position that you think you'll get in the championship that you're trying to aim for?
At the moment, the realistic objective is to just secure P5. Like, I think I put a pretty decent buffer to Vince and the such now. But I think Razin is going to start getting away a bit. Even though Skyzy's missing next week, I think he's probably going to be too far to get. So it's just about securing P5, getting that streak going of pretty much top 5 every season, and then just hope for a better start to the season for the next season. But this one, just lock down P5, and I won't get my hopes too much for any better.
Harry?
No questions on my end.
There we go. Sorted. Well, thanks very much for joining us then, Saf, and hopefully for Mystery GP, it's a track that is not only one to your liking, but one that you're good at as well.
That would be very nice, and as long as you're commentating it, I'm sure I'll have some good luck.
Oh, bless you, you beautiful boy. All right then, so that is that. That is all of our interviews done and dusted for this evening's Creator Series, so we jump back to the 3 of us here, the 3 amigos, the 3 musketeers, the 3 people that are available because no one else was available, like George Morgan. But there we go then.
Wow.
So it's I'm ribbing myself in that as well, guys. Come on. But yeah. So in terms of that, then I think great race. We are treated to a lot of great races in the Creator Series. The occasional race that's a little bit dull, it's a little bit boring, but those happen sometimes. Usually it's the ones without any safety cars. We had one safety car today, and that was one of the most entertaining races that we've had all season.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. France is usually boring in real life, but in league racing, and in particular in the Creator Series, that was just battles all over the show. There was battles for the lead, there was battles for the midfield as well. We had people coming from lower down the field to finish in good places. We had just tons of overtakes, which I have to say, I hope there's more races in the Creator Series around France, because it's just been really great to see. It's a shame. I really hope it's on the game for F1 24 as well. But yeah, it was a great Creator Series race. And the first race, where it was simulcasted to multiple platforms, not just Twitch as well. So multiple people get to see this race, and what a race to have it multi-streamed on, really. So I really enjoyed it.
Harry, how about you?
Yeah, no, it was very enjoyable to sit back, relax, enjoy the race, switch between all the streamers, and see what's going on for them, perspective as well. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and well, hopefully we'll be back again soon.
Hopefully we will. Hopefully we will see you again soon. Absolutely, 100%. But there we go then, everybody. That has been the Creator Series for the French Grand Prix. We have just 2 rounds to go now in the rest of this season before we then head off to an off-season for the Creator Series. But I'm sure it won't be long before we're then back for Season 5. Jess, where can the good people of the internet find you?
Well, you can find me on X, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. My handle is at JessGave95. You can find all my antics on there, whether it's my league racing commentary or any other stuff. But yeah, at JessGave95. Very short but sweet.
There we go. Harry, how about you?
I've only really got a public TikTok account, h.lacey05, and I don't really post much, but you can follow me.
Follow him
Excellent.
right now.
Follow him. Do it, Jeff. So there we are then. That's those two. For me, just Instagram is what I'll pimp out today. That's at DA Gilligan. But apart from that, that has been us. That has been our show. Big thanks to the drivers. Big thanks to Rob, our wonderful, beautiful man, who is the producer for the Creator Series these days, for running the show as smoothly as we possibly could with the various bits and pieces that have then been going on alongside it today. And yeah, we will see you next time. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening, your day, whatever it is you do. But from the French Grand Prix, we say au revoir and bonne nuit. Good night, everybody.